early? Is this normal time, or?
No. We've got in our backyard at my home, we've got spring flowers coming up. Now, we live on the Great Lakes area. I've never seen spring flowers come up in January or beginning of February ever. There's definitely changes.
Last year we had a very mild summer or winter.
Very mild,
and there was early blooming of plants and different things.
And then we were hit with the frost, and
it worked out though. You know, people have said, "Are the leaves going to fall off the trees in July?" And at normal time, you know, everything ended well in the fall, or normally, should say, as normal as you can get at this point. But yeah, the weather is something to definitely watch now that we have, you know, people like Bill Gates getting involved in patents to control and weather. We already know that the people in charge have weather modification techniques that they use where they can claim it's to stop or yield the bad weather, but they have the ability to create droughts or rain, hurricanes, tornadoes, I think, whatever they want to do.
Yes. Yeah, they do. Now, I just want to break script here for a moment. About 5 minutes before we went on the air, I got a phone call from my wife, my stepson, his friend. His body was just found about 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. He committed suicide, reportedly hung himself in his apartment, and his name is Brian, and if you could say a prayer for Brian, he's in his 20s. In fact, we, as a family, had seen him just last week. There was no indication of any type of problems, nothing. And you know, just like I said about a half hour ago, his friend found him hanging in his apartment, and it's not. I mean, not auto. I mean, it's just hanging. I don't want to give the wrong impression here. It was not any type of. Yeah, I don't know what it was, but I'll say this: there's something going on here. There's this within our spiritual consciousness that is changing. It's something that
I got a good audio uploaded for that touches on this. I don't know if you heard this Newton father speaking out on gun control laws.
Are you talking about the one that was supposedly heckled, or
the one who said the guns aren't the problem, it's the society?
Okay, that was the older. Yes, I've heard that before, but it's always good to hear again if you have it queued up.
Yeah, I do, and it touches on what the real problems are in our society.
Sure.
Well, they have nothing to do with guns. And then we're going to be joined at 8:15 by Patriot John, who went to a town hall meeting on guns at a gun store this evening with the Representative Mike Kelly and another Pennsylvania congressman.
I can't wait to hear his take on how that played out, because with the backdrop of the hearings today, which I don't know if you folks have caught those hearings on C-SPAN.
Yeah, we got some clips to play. Dianne Feinstein and other things about gun control that are they're all painful to listen to. But this one being, I mean, you got to give this guy credit for what he did and said. And here it is. This is the Newtown father. His son was killed.
And I give this guy a lot of credit
on gun control laws. This is about a 5-minute clip.
Back now to the story we mentioned at the top of the hour. There was some very powerful testimony this morning in front of a gun violence task force in Hartford, Connecticut. It came from a man named Mark Mattioli, who lost his son James in the December 14th school massacre at Sandy Hook Elementary. He spoke passionately about his son, the shooting, the issue of mental health, and how he thinks that more gun laws may not provide all the answers we need. Now, he spoke, we're told, for about 10, 15 minutes, so we've actually called the highlights from that. Watch here.
I think there's much more promise for a solution in identifying, researching, and creating solutions along the lines of mental health issues. I think there is a lot of work that can be done there, and I applaud our friends, the Richmonds, who are forging a path down that road. I believe these issues, especially gun violence, are not as complex as you've been told. There's been a lot on TV, a lot of politicians telling you the way that it is, and it's very difficult, complex. I don't believe it's so complex. I believe the solution may not be as easy to implement as I might hope, but it's a simple concept. We need civility across our nation. What we're seeing are symptoms of a bigger problem. This is a symptom. The problem is not gun laws. The problem is a lack of civility. So I'm 42. When I was 25 years ago, I was allowed to go see an R-rated movie. The violence that I saw in that movie paled in comparison to what you see on TV today. Just normal TV, 14-year-olds are out there watching Law and Order SVU and NCIS, and it's just disgusting. We need civility across our nation. We need common decency to prevail. When I was about James's age, he was 6. Let me change the subject for a moment. So, our school, I'm very proud of Sandy Hook. Our school is not a building. It's the teachers, the parents, the students. We have some core values. I encourage you to visit the website. Cultivating character. Okay? We as parents, that's our primary job. We ask the schools to, contribute to that. But we are the primary caregivers and educators. And Sandy Hook is a wonderful example. Okay, back to me at age 6. My mom took me to the grocery store, and my parents are the children coming out of the Depression, so they're not big on entertaining impulse purchases. So I asked for a pack of bubble gum, and my mom said no, so I stole it. Well, that did not go over well when my mother discovered this as we pulled into our driveway. She drove back to the store, made me hand the gum back to the cashier and apologize and say that I'd never do it again. That is the type of parenting we need. Parenting is where we need to focus our attention. We do not need complex laws. I am a big proponent of individual accountability and enforcement. So if there are going to be laws, we should enforce them. What I would say is Chicago has some of the toughest gun laws in the country, and I would say to people who wanted to have a civil discussion on the topic, I don't think the gun laws are protecting the people, let alone the 500 who perished last year in that city. What have those laws done to make Chicago a safer city? Nothing, I propose. Can't we do better? Yes. Criminals, by definition, break the law. What we experienced in Sandy Hook, did they break the law? Of course they broke the law. These 500 individuals who were killed in Chicago, they're breaking the law. Is one more law? I don't care if you named it James's Law. I don't want it. I think we have more than enough on the books. We should hold people individually accountable for their actions, and we should enforce laws appropriately. And I would say we're not currently enforcing them appropriately.
All right, that was the thoughts of one of the fathers from Sandy Hook, saying it's not a problem with guns, it is a problem with civility. And he used Chicago as an example. In news from Chicago today, deadliest January in Chicago in more than 10 years. The murder toll in Chicago for the month of January now stands at 42, making it the most deadly January in Chicago in more than 10 years. This is a gun-free city, remember. One of the people who were shot and killed was a teenage honor student who had just performed at the presidential inauguration. He was gunned down Tuesday afternoon in the Kenwood neighborhood, just blocks from the high school she attended.
Now they're saying that was a gang-related shooting where she was not the intended target, but
that seems to be the way most of these things work in Chicago.
But my question is, when is the last time, for example, you, the listener, listening to this program out there, were in a position where you would heighten or increase your possibility of being shot or shot at because you were with a group of people, gang members? You know,
from what I read, it doesn't look like she was with gang members. It seems, unless...
Well, the last bit of information, news I had, and this could be dated or it could be wrong, but the intended target, there was an intended target among the people that she was crowded with, and that person was supposedly, that intended target was a gang, was affiliated with a gang.
What they say here is just that the 15-year-old honor student was shot and killed while taking shelter from the rain in a park.
Right, but there were a lot of other young people with her. But once again, you know, like that father said, it's not the guns. When's the last time anyone has arrested a gun? That caller that we had, her husband, being a police officer, said never arrested a gun. It's the person behind it. You can make all the laws in the world.
Yeah.
And it's not going to, you cannot legislate morality. You cannot legislate civility.
No. And while we have the worst gun violence in January in 10 years, 11 years, while we had last year the highest murder rate in Chicago in a gun-free zone, the Chicago's top law enforcement officer says violence is not as bad as it seems.
Well, okay, numbers-wise.
Compared to what?
Okay,
Africa? I mean...
No. If you take the FBI statistics.
He's saying Chicago.
Oh, Chicago.
Yeah. Chicago's top cop says violence is not as bad as it seems. Chicago's top cop says the city's deadliest weekend wasn't as bad as it seems when compared to last year.
Wow, then last year, so you know, okay.
Even though there was more shooting deaths than last year. But wouldn't you think this cop would come out and say we need more gun restrictions? Wouldn't he follow suit?
Well, look, for what Chicago has, from what D.C. has, they've got the strict gun laws in the country. You're telling me that more gun laws are gonna make a difference? Of course, they're not going to make a difference. They're not hitting the root of the problem. I just noticed somebody, and I don't, folks new to the program. If you're listening to this new to the program and you're on the involved in the chat, I don't really pay attention to chat. So if I miss things, but I did see a comment go through here about the plan of the New World Order is to disarm Americans and get the Constitution. I think that's true. I think that's what the larger plan is. I'm not sure where I was going with that, but I think that's the larger picture here. So, but the laws,
right. The lack of common sense is what is here. The lack of civility, the lack of morals, the lack of good parenting, leadership, and guidance. That's what's lacking.
Right. I mean, and you know something too, folks. I don't know. Did you watch the Senate hearing today? If you did, great. That means you had some time on your hands. I had it on in the background of my office today. But one person stood out for me, Gail Trotter, the attorney and senior fellow independent for Independent Women's Forum in Washington, D.C. Gail Trotter really stood her ground in the Senate hearing. If you have a chance if you have a high-speed connection, look up some of her statements on C-SPAN and watch them. She stood her ground and she said, look, you know, it's I mean, she put down a lot of these senators and a lot of the other witnesses that were pro-ban on magazine capacity and such, and came flat out and said it's not going to really make a difference. You know, she hit to the heart that we're talking about today, I guess. But it's interesting because we defend our president with guns, we defend our congressmen with guns, we defend our governors with guns, we defend our celebrities with guns, we defend the sporting events with guns, our jewelry stores with guns, we defend our banks with guns, we defend our office buildings with guns, we defend our factories with guns, we defend our court buildings with guns, we defend our children with the sign that reads, "This is a gun-free zone." What sense does this make?
Exactly.
So anyway,
we have our local radio host of Braveheart Radio on Saturday nights. You can find a link at homelandsecurityus.com. Patriot John, who was at a town hall meeting with a couple of congressmen
now,
at a gun shop.
Yeah, just to be fair, folks, and I got a lot of Facebook, and this is one thing I don't do enough is check Facebook, but a lot of people on Facebook saying, well, that was a venue selected right from the bowels of hell. Okay. Anyway, John from Braveheart Radio, welcome to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Very well. What kind of news you have for us, John, about the town hall meeting with Pennsylvania House of Representative member Mike Kelly,
who voted for NDAA and other draconian legislation?
Yeah, it was Mike Kelly from Pennsylvania's 3rd Representative District, and also Glenn Thompson from Pennsylvania's 5th Representative District. And there was also a representative there of Senator Pat Toomey. Apparently, Mr. Toomey had something better to do. But
now, how many people? John, how many attendees were there at this meeting?
I'm going to say probably anywhere between 300 and 400.
Wow.
It was.
Okay.
It was standing room only. The venue was originally planned for inside the gun store itself, but there was such a big response to it beforehand that they decided to open up their indoor shooting range and have it in the shooting range itself. When I got there about 5 o'clock, I got there early enough. I was actually able to park in the parking lot. I was one of the last cars let in, by the way, and probably within 45 minutes of my arrival there, when I got there was maybe 24 people there. Within 45 minutes, the place was packed, and people were parked all up and down Route 99 that runs between Erie and Edinburgh. And there was a couple of businesses that were next door to the gun shop that their parking lots were full as well. So I'm gonna say I'm really no good at estimating this kind of thing, but I'm gonna say well better than 300 people.
All right. Okay. And I'll tell you what, to get that many people out for a town hall meeting, normally up here our town hall meetings, if they get 40 or 50 people, that's a really huge turnout for town hall meetings in this area of the country.
Depending on the issue, yeah.
Yeah. But okay, go ahead, John. Give us kind of a play-by-play here. What happened?
Well, the host of the event, Mr. Bob Bolt, I believe is the owner of Bob's Gun Shop where the event was held. Basically, brought the meeting to order, if you will, and introduced a representative from. Forgive me, the name of the organization escapes me, but it's a firearms group that has a chapter here in the area in Pennsylvania, and they were the ones that actually put the town hall meeting on. They organized it, they did all the legwork, and basically made it happen. And this gentleman made a few remarks, and pretty much after a few minutes introduced Congressman Glenn Thompson from the 5th District, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, encompasses Clarion, Katanning area not South Central, headed towards Southwest Pennsylvania. And
John, you're talking about an area that, John, not talk over, but just to make sure people understand that. You're talking about an area that is very hunter-friendly, very gun-friendly in this part of the country.
Yes.
Okay.
Very. I believe that might actually be an understatement on your part, Doug. And he spoke for a few minutes and gave pretty much a dissertation on his beliefs of the Second Amendment. Everything up to, but not including, the real reason for the Second Amendment, which is, of course, to fight tyranny. He gave the whole, self-defense thing and the hunting and the sport shooting and all that, but didn't tread into the water of fighting tyranny.
So he was full of beans then. Okay, all right. So we can say that. No, I mean, look, the whole purpose of the Second Amendment is to fight against the tyrannical government. It's not about hunting. It's not about anything else. It's about that. So he soft-pedaled around that. Then you're talking.
That was one of many things that were soft-pedaled around.
Okay.
To put it lightly. And I saw in the chat room that. There's some background noise going on. My phone was going off, telling us once again about the 1.5 to 2 feet of snow that's coming. But anyway, so he spoke for several minutes, and hell, I have the I have a concealed weapons permit and all that. Are you still with me?
Yeah. Keep going.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've got another call coming in. I'm just going to let it go.
Thank you for that.
So he was very eloquent in what he said in speaking in defense of our rights, and I'm trying to be as objective as I possibly can. So when he was done, he introduced Congressman Kelly, who in fact represents our area, and he was basically spoke of the same things. We're not gonna let them take your rights, and we're firm believers in the Second Amendment, and this is going too far, and I hate to be so crass, but blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and it's typical what you'd expect when you're standing in a gun shop with people who are armed when you're talking about their rights. And Senator Kelly, for those who don't know, is a alleged Tea Party politician who was brought in 2010 who voted for the NDAA and voted for the Enemy Expatriation Act.
That's right.
And voted for all these unconstitutional, tyrannical laws that are in place now.
So, okay, so John, I mean, to cut to the chase, we've got Representative Mike Kelly up there in front of a group of 300 or 400 people who are definitely pro-gun. What's the bottom line? What did he say? Did he say that he's going to stand up, vote down any type of legislation that comes his way, or is he going to equivocate and compromise, if you will? What's the
the word compromise was not mentioned at all, and I think had that word come out, I think the crowd probably would have turned very ugly at that point. I spent some time beforehand talking to several people, and their thoughts ranged from, well, I don't think every house should have an assault weapon, but they should have the option, to the other side of the spectrum of, why don't we just saddle up and march to Washington and arrest these idiots? So I'm pretty sure that the word compromise would have absolutely, gone over like a lead balloon.
Okay.
It was. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask for people there. I'm not sure, who was there and what their understanding of Mike Kelly and their whole understanding of what the government's doing right now. Was there anybody who just spoke out against these people in general?
What do you mean spoke out? Against what people?
About Mike Kelly. Were there any troublemakers there, I guess I would ask?
Well, the law was laid down from the beginning that we were not to act in that manner, talk to them in that manner, you know. And if we did, we would be escorted out by the state police that were present.
So keep the rope in the trucks, then. Keep the rope in the pickup trucks.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Which says something about the attitude, about the general attitude. People are fed up, and people are, you know, they're not willing to tolerate much more. And I think the owner of the gun shop senses this, maybe even feels it himself, and does so to the point that he felt the need to tell the crowd, look, you're not a lynch mob, don't act like one yet. So
okay.
it was laid down right at the beginning, be respectful, be courteous, and let's have a dialogue here, which is all well and good. I mean, I don't think anybody really wanted to get ugly.
No, and you know, people have to understand too, and I know this on our local news, this is going to get reported in a manner that's not going to reflect the truth. So what you're saying is, the mood there was very reserved. People were well behaved, but your sense among the people, the attendees there, was, hey, not one more inch. We've had it. This is enough. You know, what say you, Representative Kelly? I mean, that's what I'm getting so far from you. Is that about right?
That is a very accurate assessment of the general mood of the attendees. Yes, I think I don't know what everyone else went there to were expecting when they went there. I was expecting exactly what I got, and I liken it to. Go ahead.
What would you walk out of there with? I mean, you said you walked out with what you expected. What did you expect, and what did you walk out of there with?
I expected to hear a lot of lip service to the Constitution, which I did. I expected to hear a sermon preached to the choir, which I did.
Okay.
And I expected to hear. We're there to defend your rights, which I did, and I left with empty. I left with empty thoughts on those three issues, because none of them were really satisfied. I mean, they weren't. They were not genuine. Like I said, they were preaching a sermon to the choir. They were telling us what we wanted to hear.
So they're going to go back to D.C. and just basically do what they want. Is my kind of what I'm feeling from you here. It's like, okay, we're in front of a crowd of 300-400 people, gun owners, gun advocates, Second Amendment, you know, in a gun store. That's right, in a gun shop. What do you expect, obviously? So then, okay. But my concern here is, with all the hearings going on and with all the potential legislation coming up, is Mike Kelly, for example, which I would have to classify him as one of the more pro-gun people in Pennsylvania, even though he comes with problems. But is he going to let down his constituents, the American public, and vote against the Constitution, do you think, John?
My personal feeling is that Congressman Kelly is very pro-gun. I don't think that he is going to let us down in that regard as far as voting for anything, that would be taken away from us. However, I do not see him putting up a very rabid fight.
Perfect.
He is still what would be considered a junior congressman, and he is going to do what his masters tell him to do. So I do not see him putting up I don't see him putting up any kind of a fight at all. To be honest with you.
Was there any one specific thing that stuck out in your mind that would be considered remarkable or significant that took place tonight at this meeting?
There was a lot of talk, and Congressman Kelly brought it up himself. There was a lot of talk about the United Nations Small Arms Treaty.
Oh,
and
good.
The mood in the crowd changed measurably at that point. Everybody in the crowd, from what I could tell, was very. They were the same mind that we are. Is that to get us out of the UN, and that was thrown out there a couple of times. And Congressman Kelly seemed very in tune with that kind of sentiment.
Okay.
And again, I want to stress, he is the one that brought it up. And
he brought up the Small Arms Treaty?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
It was not mentioned before he said it.
Now, did he say this in, it was a threat to our gun rights, or?
Yeah, well, in what context did he bring it up, John? That seems to be a...
As a threat to our sovereignty as a nation. And he specifically said, I don't want to be sitting at a table with Iran and Syria discussing gun policy for the United States. And that is an exact quote.
All right.
That stuck with me.
But yeah, we are now faced. One of the things that happened right after the Obama was reelected was the fact that they telegraphed to the United Nations that yes, we're open to discussions about the small arms or the arms trade treaty. So, wow, okay, all right. So at least he's aware of this.
And he did bring that up too. He did bring that up.
All right. So what's he going to do about it? I mean, he's got to know. He's got to be on his way home right now, tonight, knowing that he's got about 400 people that are not happy.
The big thing that really the only thing that Congress can do about the UN at this point is what they can do. What the only thing they can really do about anything that's passed is defund it. And he was talking about the fact that we contribute every year financially to the United Nations, and he was being very specific about saying about questioning why they're not acting in our best interest. Why are we continuing to fund them? So that is, to me, at least a one hopeful sign. And again, as I said, the crowd was in general agreement. So,
what's your gut telling you? I mean, if the worst would happen, and if our Second Amendment rights would be marginalized by either congressional action or by executive action, what's your gut telling you the blowback would be from the people, at least from the people that you were around today? I mean, will there be hell to pay?
Massive non-compliance to start. That is flat out the start. Massive, widespread non-compliance.
And I just want to say to the listeners of this program. Okay, I just want to say to the listeners of the program, what you're hearing is a situational update, a sit rep from a gentleman who attended a town hall meeting with Representative Mike Kelly of the House of Representatives for this particular district of Western Pennsylvania. You could take this as a barometer of, I would say, maybe 70% maybe of the country. Maybe that might be a little bit low. And so what you're hearing, what John is explaining is the mood of the people in about 70% of the country. And this is a good barometer for everyone to pay attention to because, to take away the urban areas, New York City and Los Angeles, stuff like that, this is the United States. These are the solid earth people here. So what John is explaining is important for us to understand, to get an idea of the mood of the people right now. And were there any non-gun owners there? Were there any people that were just there that were, or any anti-Second Amendment, anti-gun ownership people there?
Congressman Kelly mentioned that there were people there that did not agree with the overall crowd's views on gun ownership, and I did not personally talk to any of them. I don't know how many were there. I didn't run into any. Let me put it that way. Had I run into any, I certainly would have engaged them in conversation. But I personally did not talk to any. But according to the congressman, there were some, as he put it, people that do not agree with our stance on firearms ownership.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I can't imagine anyone wearing a red T-shirt saying down with guns in a venue like that. But that's just me. So okay, so the bottom line here, you have a scintilla of hope here for things, or do you still feel that that this is all just nothing but lip service and bread and circus?
Well, as I stated earlier, there was a lot of lip service paid to the Constitution tonight, and that lip service came from three individuals. One of which I know for sure voted to eviscerate the Fourth Amendment twice.
Right.
I do not know about Congressman Thompson, and I do not know about Senator Toomey.
Yeah, he voted the same for the NDA.
And he did.
Yep. Yeah, and it's amazing. How can you justify hey, Second Amendment, cool, Fourth Amendment, nah, not so cool.
Well, what's the difference? When they can just disappear you without any reason, they don't even have to take your guns away. Just catch you in the right place, right time.
There was a question and answer period where people from the audience were given the opportunity to address the congressman directly. Boy, my arm got tired for holding it up for a half an hour. I was unfortunately not chosen, but on my way out, I happened to be walking out beside the representative of Senator Toomey's office, and I stopped him and I introduced myself and I said, "Can I ask you a question?" And he said, "Sure." And I said, "The senator and these two congressmen are sitting members of a Congress that twice voted for defense authorization acts that gave the president the power to indefinitely detain American citizens on American soil." I said, which pretty much eviscerates the Fourth Amendment. I said, given that, how can we trust your people? And I meant by your people, I meant Congress as a whole,
right,
to do what they say they're going to do and protect our Second Amendment. And this guy is a political player from the get-go. I mean, he belongs in politics because he addressed another question of the audience before the meeting ended, and spun it all kinds of different ways. But back to what I asked him. I got a history lesson in the fact that all presidents since Lincoln had this power, and it was just never really put on paper, and it doesn't really give the president the power to do that. It gives it gives Congress oversight of all of this, of indefinite detention. I said, yes, but it still doesn't. It still doesn't afford people their constitutional right to due process. Well, it's not as bad as you think, And I got kind of the, what are you, crazy kind of response from this guy.
Who are you going to believe, me or your long eyes? Yeah. Yeah,
and I said, look, Congress as a whole has a 10% approval rating because of issues just like this. I said, I'm not, I don't trust you with the indefinite detention clauses of the NDAAs, and I sure as heck don't trust you to protect my Second Amendment rights as you so earnestly profess that you're going to do. And it ended with a handshake and him thanking me for paying attention. Of all things, he thanked me for paying attention to what's going on and being involved.
Did you check your watch and your wallet to make sure you had both after you shook his hand?
I probably should have.
Well, no, yeah. All right. Wow.
Yeah, the question I wanted to ask the two congressmen was exactly that. And I wasn't going to single them out. I was going to be very polite and be a little bit vague and say, okay, you guys are part of a Congress that voted twice for NDAA, and how can we trust you to protect our Second Amendment rights if you so carelessly discard our Fourth Amendment rights?
Correct.
Unfortunately, I never got the chance to ask that in front of everybody, which I really wanted to do because there were people there that were very awake, and I mean on the level of you and me and Joe and where we are. Okay, but I know there was people there. There had to be. There were people there that really had no clue that they could be snatched up and taken away in the middle of the night and never seen or heard from again. And I really wanted to bring that out to let everybody know that this is going on, and also to let the guys that were proselytizing to us about their defense of the Second Amendment and the Constitution as a whole, that we know what they did.
That's important.
Unfortunately, did not get that opportunity. So it lasted about an hour. It's actually it is my first ever town hall meeting, and probably will be my last, because they came.
It was nothing but show. I mean, there was really nothing of substance that they really offered aside from hollow assurances that they were going to protect your interests.
In a phrase, guys, all fluff and no stuff.
Yeah. See, and people wonder why. There's this lack of desire for dialogue because there's nothing left. What's there to talk about? You either are for the Second Amendment as it was written and as it was meant, or you're not. And really, there's no in between.
Yeah, there is no in between, and a lot of good questions from the audience. No real hardball questions. The one that was the hardball question was spun off by this representative from Toomey's office, and the guy tried to follow up, but he was basically ignored because he knew and we knew that his question didn't get answered, and it concerned the executive orders. And can you guys, meaning Toomey and Kelly and Thompson, can you guys do anything about this? And again, it was Toomey's representative that fielded that question, and I must say, quite skillfully spun it off into the ether, and a follow-up was not allowed. So
that's something. Well, but the bottom line, though, John, the people there, you're characterizing as more awake than the average bear, or more awake than one would necessarily think. I mean, people are paying attention, and there is interest, and there's this. And if I'm getting this correctly from you, there's this undercurrent of anger, or resolve, maybe might be the better word, of the people.
Oh, I think anger. I think anger is a good word. I really do, because before resolve comes anger, and right now there's probably an equal mixture of both.
All right.
people are angry. I myself have moved beyond anger, and I'm just resolved. I'm ready to do whatever I have to do. And there are people there. There are people out there, and there were people there tonight that are ready. And then there's people there that were angry. I mean, the first person that was handed the microphone brought up Fast and Furious.
Really?
The next guy that was handed, the next guy that was handed the microphone brought up an article written by, of all people, Jerome Corsi. So these people are well read.
Well, okay, Fast and Furious. Well, what was the response to Fast and Furious? Why in the heck aren't people in jail for Fast and Furious? What are these people? I mean, it's a damn good thing I wasn't there.
I think that was the basic tone of the question, because Kelly answered it, and he said, the top law enforcement agent officer of the country ignored subpoenas, was found in contempt of Congress, and whether feigned or actual, I sensed frustration in Kelly's voice that Holder's still in office. Now, I stress whether feigned or actual. I don't know, but he was right in tune with the constituents. I feel your pain.
Yeah. Well, you know what, John? I mean, it's one thing to be. He's a congressman. He's got the power to bring things up. He's got the power to address issues like Fast and Furious and to bring Holder to, if he won't, or if he can't get the more senior representatives to do it. See, I mean, it just seems like once you get to Washington, you have to leave your manhood at the door and your integrity and your ethics at the door, before you get into the beltway. I don't understand.
Get chosen for the proper committees, the best committees. That's sorry, that's just my
no, and I think that's true.
Takes on it.
And I think one of the questions that needs to be asked is: are these people there? Are they there for a career, or to enrich themselves, or are they there to represent the will of the people? And the will of the people, at least in this area of the country, is you don't mess with the Second Amendment, and you don't. But you know what, John? I think you've given me some hope, and hopefully some of the listeners some hope that and the hope is not to be found in the Mike Kellys of the world and Pat Toomeys, but of the people that are present there, and that that's where the hope is.
I heard a lot of "we the people" tonight, and I'm not talking about from the people on the stage. I'm talking about from the crowd. We heard a lot of "we the people" tonight. So I think maybe, just maybe, there is a unity starting to grow, and this whole thing has had the undesired effect. Through the eyes of the government, has had the undesired effect of people aren't shying away and everything. You can't buy a gun, you can't buy a box of ammo, you darn sure cannot buy a magazine anywhere. And I think that is starting to expand into people got their guns. Now they're starting to come together and unify in a mindset of, we may have to do this. We don't want to. We pray that we don't have to, but we may have to. And that was rather evident tonight in the crowd that I was a part of, and it does give me hope as well. Certainly not in our politicians. Certainly not in D.C. and any you know, or any aspect of it, but hope in the people that they are in the corner and they're ready to come out swinging.
Well,
Say enough is enough.
We're about at the top of the hour, John. I want to thank you for going out there and getting that information for us, even though it seemed to be uneventful political theater.
Well, I think the value of John's reporting here is the fact that you've got a lot of people who are united in thought, in spirit, and who had, you know, to brave the weather, you know, to go out to a town hall meeting in mass. This says a lot. So I think that you've said a lot here, John. I think you've offered the listeners a lot. There's hope. There's unity. There's some growing. There's definitely a growing resolve among people that, hey, we're not one more inch, not one more compromise. This is enough.
Yeah,
so.
I got that sense, and I want to thank you guys very much for allowing me to come on, and I want to thank the listeners, and I hope that I have given some kind of reason for a little bit of optimism. Certainly, if not in our elected representatives, which I don't think I've given any reason for them, but in us, in we the people, because that's what it's about. We're the boss, and I think it's about time that we reassume that leadership position. And I think Washington knows that we're headed that way, and they're scared. They're scared.
As well they should be. John, thank you very much. I appreciate your reporting on this town hall meeting. What an eventful, or what a certainly relevant thing to have tonight. And that's John from Pennsylvania American Patriot Radio. Pennsylvania American Patriot Radio, folks. If you go to HomelandSecurityUS.com, click on the link on the right-hand side. 88.3 FM broadcast every Saturday from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. The small station with the big mouth, BraveHeartRadio.net.
Thank you, guys.
All right,
thank you. God
John.
bless you guys. God bless the listeners, and God bless us all.
Good night, sir.
Have a good night.
Good night.
So that's interesting. You know, it's interesting, Joe. How that I think what I got out of this is not the politicians, not the people standing up talking, but the people that came together, and you know, knowing John, and I think that's an accurate assessment of the unity that there's a unified purpose here.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Walmart stores have alerted global suppliers that it will immediately drop them if they subcontract their work to factories that haven't been authorized by the discounter. Walmart is being stricter contracting rules along other changes. Its policy comes as increasing calls for better safety oversight after a deadly fire at other Walmart stores.
What's that mean?
But there's more to this than that. This has to do with the ammunition sales. They're going to start blackballing companies, from what I understand, that are not going along and following suit with other corporations and taking measures against the people getting ammunition or other supplies.
Is Walmart going to continue selling ammunition, number one? Are they going to continue selling weapons where they were selling weapons before?
No. To my understanding, no.
All right. So now we've got, well, because I've heard different stories about this. I've heard different accounts. I don't know. And I do know that if you and I've seen people contact their different regional stores. They've been sent to the corporate headquarters and have gotten different answers to various questions, including the gun sales and ammunition sales questions. So I think that remains to be seen what they're going to do, and I think it's whichever way the wind blows, or perhaps whichever way the Obama regime is going to fall on this particular issue.
Yeah. We have some audio from Dianne Feinstein.
This is good stuff.
We're going to play this real quick, and then we're going to go to break. This is Dianne Feinstein. We can't have a totally armed society.
We have millions and millions of big clips. The Aurora shooter used a 100-round drum. Fortunately, it jammed. Otherwise, he would have killed more people. I think most people believe that, sure, we can have guards at schools. I'm well aware that at Columbine, there was a deputy sheriff who was armed who actually took a shot but couldn't hit the shooter there. The question comes, what do you do about the malls then? What do you do about our movie theaters? What do you do about businesses? We can't have a totally armed society. And that's my feeling in terms of the need to say that there are certain categories of guns. We actually exempt over 2,000 specific weapons by make and model name to create and then ban about 158 assault weapons and go to a one characteristic test.
So we can't have an armed society. I don't understand that from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, Dianne Feinstein, along with several Democratic lawmakers, unveiled their sweeping gun control legislation, and it said that the bill is DOA on arrival. So I don't buy into the predictions of the bills and what they're going to do after they're introduced, because we know money are put in the pockets of individuals who will change their vote based on that money, who will compromise based on money or other political favors. So we'll have to wait and see. Folks, we're up against the first break. You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report this Wednesday, January 30th, 2013. We'll be right back after these short messages. Stay with us.
All right, folks, Doug Hagmann here. Just want to tell you about Grandland Firearms. If you're a new listener, if you live up in British Columbia, in the Campbell River area of British Columbia, stop in to Grandland Firearms. If you're not up in that area, definitely visit their website at grandlandfirearms.com. That's grandlandfirearms.com. Go to homelandsecurityus.com, click on the link to Grandland Firearms. There you're going to find a laundry list of weapons, of stock, the inventory they have. And I'm going to tell you, they do have more than the average gun store here in America today. That is for sure. They've got a complete gun stock list on their website. Lots of hunting equipment, lots of survival gear, and definitely lots of cool pictures as well. And Carl Franlin wrote the book Tree Beyond the River, Cougar Hunting on Vancouver Island. When I was still under the weather, I had picked that book up and was reading some of the stories and accounts there. What an interesting set of tales and set of stories that book offers. Definitely grab that for your coffee table, for your reading, for your enjoyment. And but while you're, of course, they've got a lot of information about firearms courses. If you're up in that BC area, interesting courses that you can attend as well. And of course, their news section and photo gallery, check that out at Grandland Firearms. That's grandlandfirearms.com. Tell them Doug and Joe Hagmann sent you. Hi folks, Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the Internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Eileen Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
You better wake up fast and listen to this, America. The Obama campaign has launched attack squads disguised as truth teams dedicated to intimidating and silencing all political dissent carried over the Internet that criticizes the Marxist Obama. Truth Squad specifically focused on covering up Obama's endless trail of lies, corruption, and subversion, and using the Gestapo power of our own government to police and censor the Internet and shut down websites that dare to carry the real truth about Obama's Marxist coup. Remember the names of these Gestapo-style agencies that work right there in your neighborhood: KeepingHisWord.com, KeepingGOPHonest.com, and AttackWatch.com. KGB, SS, and Gestapo-style police-state gangster organizations at work to silence the important voices of patriot dissent, some of which have already been shut down by Obama's orders. Adolf Hitler would have been proud. We're the 21st century Tea Party patriots.
Hold on to your seat. The Hagmann and Hagmann flight is now taking off. Doug and Joe Hagmann have cleared the runway of TSA agents, jihadists, political crackpots, and global elitists. Now get ready for some real news. Here they are, Doug and Joe Hagmann.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to hour number 2 of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report this Wednesday, January 30th, 2013. The month of January is almost over.
Incredible.
Tomorrow night, we're going to be joined by Bill Salas, author, radio host, speaker, prophecy expert. As some refer to him.
Yeah.
He'll be joining us the third hour of the show to talk about his new book, Psalm 83, and what he foresees happening in the near future in the Middle East. He's written books such as Palestine.
Yep. Great book. And folks, I would urge everyone, if you can, tune in tomorrow night live, because third hour, what's going on in the Middle East right now, he has predicted, or I suppose predicted is the right word, the confederation of 10 Arab nations to go against Israel. And this is what we're seeing right now. And he did this, he put all this information together even before Egypt was destabilized and before Arab Spring. So what we're looking at is what he's written about in his book, Palestine, coming to pass. So definitely a great author.
One piece of news here, then we're going to go over to the phone lines. The Federal Reserve keeps stimulus in place as U.S. economy paused. The Federal Reserve on Wednesday left in place its monthly $85 billion bond-buying stimulus plan, arguing the support was needed to lower unemployment, even as it indicated in a recent stall in U.S. economic growth was likely temporary. They were basically continuing their quantitative easing infinity program, devaluing the dollar, what's left of the value of the dollar, to nothing.
Well, that's the plan. That is the plan. It's the one. People are looking for what's going to take place.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it's going to be a global economic crisis to bring in the New World Order. That's what, among other things, but that's going to be the cornerstone for the New World Order is a global economic crisis, and the Federal Reserve is playing right into this.
And what are they hiding? What are they planning? This story we touched upon yesterday. Here's just a quick 1-minute clip of that.
You're in charge. You're in charge of this thing called the United States government/budget, and it gives you political and fiscal authority to do, quote-unquote, the right thing.
Yeah.
Would you mark-to-market balance sheets today and create the economic downside that would follow, or would you put in place, or attempt to put in place, some kind of economic policies to get you to a better place down some theoretical road?
How do you solve a problem where you're spending 10% of, you're running a 10% fiscal deficit? You're not going to get growth in the absence of private sector credit demand. So the government's idea right now is we're going to export our way out of this. And when I asked a senior member of the Obama administration last week, how are we going to grow exports if we won't allow nominal wage deflation? And he says, we're just going to kill the dollar. And I said, okay, more you mean. So that's the only answer. And
that's a dead answer.
It's a dead answer, but that's where we're headed.
So that's where we're headed. The death of the dollar has been stated for a long time now, and I think we're seeing the beginning of the final push for the death of the dollar with the QE3.
Now, don't forget, folks, we already have the answer to the death of the dollar, and that's a basket of currencies, the SDR. So what the globalists have done, including the people of our Treasury or our Federal Reserve, they've already created the solution to the problem that they are creating right now, that they're engaged in right now. So this is something that we have to watch. We're going to witness an orchestrated collapse of the dollar, which is going to affect the sovereignty of the United States. Of course, it's going to affect every one of us. And where do we turn? We're going to have to turn toward the global solutions, which is what they want to do. And where are the global solutions going to be headed out of? Well, it's going to be that one square miracle mile in London, England, that is going to really be the key here. And we have to keep our eyes on this. When is this going to take place? We don't know. Soon, more than likely.
Yeah.
So, all right.
And we're going to go to the phones now. We're going to have Dr. Elizabeth Madkey on. She is a host of Tribulation News online here on Blog Talk Radio, and also has a website, which I'll post in the chat room. It's ElizabethNatKeyWorks.com. Elizabeth, are you there?
I sure am.
Well, it's good to talk with you. What's on your mind tonight?
Oh, not a whole lot. Basically, but there's a lot of division still going on. It seems like it's increasing.
I'm sorry, a lot of what's going on?
A lot of division, like within the family and friends, people like that. That seems to be increasing.
You know, and I got your email from earlier today, and I just want to not comment on the email specifically, but just say that the division that people are seeing right now within the family, the divisions are becoming deeper and wider and becoming more and more prevalent. Everything from gun ownership, gun possession, the meaning of the Second Amendment, to even the more everything. I mean, it's almost as if we're watching the formation of a second civil war and a revolution at the same time.
Exactly. And it seems like it's just getting more and more crazy out there.
What you know, when you try now look, you've got your own show, but when you try to talk with people about what's taking place out there, especially in terms of the sentiment, Second Amendment, Second Amendment or the undercurrent, are people receptive, or are they more to you, or are they more saying, "Hey, look, you're just kind of nutso," and I mean, what kind of reception are you getting with your people in your area?
Most of the time, I'm catching them being in denial of what's going on, and they don't want to research it themselves.
Okay.
Is that the same sentiment that your family is sharing, or are they listening to you and to what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, because you do a lot of research. What do you, when you take information to your family, your immediate family members, how do they respond?
They usually don't want to hear it. I've tried time and again, and keep trying. I'm constantly praying for them, and I just can't get through to them.
Is this the normalcy bias at work? Now you've got a doctorate. You're a doctor of divinity. I know that. But I mean, what do you attribute this to? This division, this divisiveness? Is it the normalcy bias, or is it? I mean, what's going on here?
I think it's the mind control. The TV is on too much. I've seen too many people watching TV too much in general, really. And it seems like they're too comfortable. Yes, normalcy bias plays into it, but I really believe that their priorities are not right where they should be at. So basically, they love the world more than they love God, and which is a possibility. But at the same time, they rather listen to what the mainstream media has to say, rather than actually looking at what God's Word says. And it seems like it's really frustrating. No matter how hard I try and get through to them, I can't.
Yeah.
And so it's causing a lot of division.
Well, and we see this. Look, to be honest with you, we see this, we hear this, we get emails about this from our listeners where they're saying that anytime we bring this information up, whether it be at the dinner table or at a family reunion or whatever the occasion, there's always, or there's this renewed divisiveness, and it's actually getting more. It's going from this quiet disagreement to more of a vocal, visceral type of reaction, and we're seeing this more and more. And I think people have to understand that. I believe, and I think you may agree that I think that a lot of this is spiritual. Wouldn't you think? I mean, a lot of this divisiveness is actually coming deep down in the spirit of people.
Definitely. And that's why I think that maybe their priorities are maybe mixed up. They rather love the things of this world than loving the things of God, you know, and not staying in His Word and prayer and fasting. You know, it's like it's all an act, you know,
right.
Rather than maybe I should research it and see if it's true, rather than pointing a finger and saying how wrong you are and how you're a false prophet and stuff like that. I get that all the time too, and whenever I do speak up, and it's really frustrating.
Yeah, I can imagine. No, I don't want to get too personal here. I don't know if you're married, but if you are married or if you've got a significant other in your life, are they on the same page with you, or do you have some disagreement, division, or some space there?
I am married. At first, there was some disagreement, but over time, as I've just kept showing my husband God's Word and what's being fulfilled, along with the current news, he's woken up. And then his own co-workers are talking about the gun ban. And so he's able to talk about it with them, and then he's now starting to do his research a little bit and keep me current as well, besides whatever I report on. So that's like a blessing.
So what I'm hearing, what I'm hearing you say is that he's coming around. I mean, is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, he's coming around. I've been absolutely amazed. It's taken a few months, but he's coming around quite a bit.
Well, and I think we're all in that position too. I think we all have people in our lives that may not be up to speed, or have as much knowledge as you have or as we have, and they're not ready to accept it. And people, accept. A lot of times they don't accept this information as readily as you might want them to, and I think that's we have to be patient with them and bring them up. But it's of all the things that we talk about, I think this is probably one of the most frustrating things on my end, is the divisiveness, is the division, is the division among family members and then people within their own.
Division among Christians.
You get that too. That too. Exactly.
Yeah.
But,
the other day, I was able to get through to someone on Facebook, and she had an open mind, and so now she's going to research it. I gave her the bare minimum basics from what you all were saying to do, and that actually helped to spur her mind and get her thinking, and now she's going to research it further. So that was a plus.
Oh, well, that's good. And so when you all, and this is this is one thing that we talk about. We all have to play. Now, you've got a radio show. You've got. It's my understanding too that you also are involved in a church. So we all have our positions to play, and we have to play them as best we can. So you're playing your position the best you can, and you're dealing with people. You're giving them information. A lot of times it's information that's not well received, but if you assist the people, you know, if you gradually nudge them and provide them lovingly with information and have patience, I think that's the best you can do. And then I know it's frustrating, but I don't think we've gotten. I think that's probably the more emails that we've gotten are about this very topic, about the divisions, the growing divisions. So you're not alone.
Thank you. I just keep trusting in God and relying on Him. That's all I can do.
Very well said. Yes, yes.
I want to thank you for calling in, Dr. Mackey, and for those who wanted to tune in to Tribulation News on Saturday, February 2nd at 5 p.m. Eastern Time to 7 p.m. We will be on with Dr. Elizabeth Mackey, and I'll put a link.
We'll be on her website or her program that day.
Yeah, and put a link to the Blog Talk, her show on Blog Talk Radio. You guys check it out, follow her, and you know, she's doing the same thing we're doing. She's talking about current events and how it is fulfilling Bible prophecy. And we need as many voices out there as we can possibly get talking about these issues, especially the biblical ones. And I want to thank you, Dr. Mackey, for doing what you do.
Thank you, and I thank you both for what you do, too.
All right. Thanks for the call. And folks, what you heard there was a little bit of a delay. We were experiencing a delay in between the callers and us. So if you hear that period of silence, that's some sort of artifact from the BTR program. So we apologize for that.
Yeah. Also on Saturday.
Saturday. This coming Saturday. Join us this Saturday for a very special program. It's called a Saturday Night Special. We're going to have Greg Evenson and Steve Quayle on to talk about the blueprint for destruction, what we're seeing in America, what's going on in America today. What's up with all of these drills, these urban military drills that are scaring the pants off people? What's going on? What about all the shipments of ammo? Pre-positioning, have you heard about this? The pre-positioning of ammunition by the Department of Homeland Security? That's being reported. What's going on? So Greg Evenson, a former Kansas State Trooper, will be on with us, as well as Steve Quayle, 9 to midnight on Saturday.
Yeah, should be a great show, and I'm really looking forward to the show and to hearing from Mr. Evenson. I know he was going through some things there. I think he didn't get the flu.
Yeah, he was sick. I mean, he was sicker than I was, and wow. Yeah, but he's better. Thanks to your prayers and support, he's better. So I'm anxious for that program as well. I talked to Steve today, and he was just saying about how rapidly things are moving in the direction of with respect to these. Look, in December you did not have these urban warfare training exercises, at least not with the as much as they were. And now in January, we had 4, 5?
Yeah, I mean we had some in a few days. Here, this is something a piece of news I wanted to hit in between calls. In Fort Collins, students are reading the Pledge of Allegiance. Only there's a twist to it. They're doing so in Arabic. We do say the Pledge of Allegiance on Mondays at Rocky Mountain High School. Principal Tom Lopez said, students have always said it in English. This year, a group with about 30 students approached the principal, allegedly, with a request to translate and recite the pledge in other languages. He said first the students translated the pledge and read it in French, and then Spanish, and then Monday they read the Pledge of Allegiance in Arabic. We have a tremendous amount of diversity in our school. This is very American, not un-American. according to him.
Well, no, to be fair, before the Arabic, they had French, and so I think Spanish they read. But if you're in a country, it doesn't make sense for the Pledge of Allegiance. You're pledging allegiance to a country. Shouldn't it be done in the language, the native language of that country? And don't tell me that diversity of language. I heard the response from this principal saying, well, you know, we celebrate all languages. We celebrate all. No, see, it's not the diversity that we're celebrating. We're celebrating the unity of the United States, the United States. So I've got a problem with this. Under the color of diversity and tolerance, we are now subjugating ourselves to this kind of nonsense. And of course, his phones have been busy, and he's been busy fielding calls from concerned parents, as well he should. But to me, that folks, I don't know how you feel about that. The Pledge of Allegiance should be done in the language of its native country. And if you know what, if you're in Mexico, you pledge allegiance to Mexico, do it in the language of your country, whatever country you are. Don't come to our country and I don't see that as a celebration of or celebration in any way. I think that's done to balkanize the United States.
Well, you remember last year when President Obama was caught on a hot mic telling Russia's Medvedev that after the election he would have more flexibility,
right,
to sidestep potential opposition to changes he wanted to make to the America's missile defense plans. Well, Joe Biden and Denlinian, how do you pronounce his name? Preparing for new nuclear discussions with Russia. Vice President Joe Biden will meet with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov this weekend in Munich, and National Security Advisor Tom Donilon will travel to Moscow next month to try to kickstart a new round of U.S.-Russia nuclear reduction negotiations, the cable has learned. It was 4 years ago at the Munich Security Conference that Biden first spoke about the Obama administration's desire to reset the U.S.-Russian relations after deterioration during the George Bush administration. Now, at the beginning of Obama's second term, Biden and Donilon are leading to change and reinvigorate that reset following a series of setbacks in the U.S.-Russia relationship that included President Putin accusing the U.S. of meddling in Russian politics, anger over the new U.S. law to sanction Russian human rights violators, and a new Russian ban on Americans adopting Russian orphans. And it goes on to say in an interview on CNN, Medvedev explained that Obama was signaling he would have more negotiating power on these subjects as part of that hot mic discussion. And it goes on to say some in Congress are concerned that Biden and Donilon, in their upcoming meetings with Russian leaders, will define exactly what that flexibility might mean and propose unilateral reductions in U.S. nuclear stockpiles or alterations to U.S. missile defense plans and enactment for Russia to sit down for new talks.
Right.
And like I said, the hot mic, Obama, I'll have more flexibility after my elections. And it's not just with this New START treaty. It is a universal, unilateral push towards international law we're seeing. And this is part of it. With that, we're going to go back to the phones. Thanks for holding and your patience. We're going to go to Sheila. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hi, guys. You're right what you just said, Doug, about these kids saying the pledge in Arabic. You go to school, once again, it's up to the parents. You go to school, you tell them, hey, we're not tolerating it. If they don't want to do it, get them out. Get them out.
That's right. The war should be fought. In this case, the war should be fought. If it's a war or disagreement, whatever, it should be fought at the local level. The parents have the responsibility to go in and say, no, we're not going to tolerate this.
That's right. That's the only way it'll stop. Go out. Go over there. Tell them what you're thinking. All the parents have got to do that. They can't get away with this unless the parents step up. I yanked mine out in a nanosecond. No doubt about it.
That's right.
Going to John, I think it would be a very good idea that everybody that didn't vote for Obama, because, I mean, ones that voted for Obama or didn't vote for him, knows what's going on. And I think everybody needs to contact their congressmen, representatives, and whatnot, and tell them you want a town hall meeting. Of course, they probably ignore it, but I think it would be a very good idea, and everybody that's against the whole thing, everything he's doing, they would get a real good feel of exactly how the American people feel, because they will make it known. And there's no doubt this particular meeting tonight, those politicians walked away from there knowing they were angry.
Oh, yeah, and I think John made that clear that the mood of the people was not lost on the politicians, but whether that makes a difference, I don't know.
That's right. That's right. I think if they got a real feel of the anger, and the American people don't want no trouble. They don't want this to lead to a confrontation. But they're leaving the people with no choice, and I think if there was a town hall meeting in every township, and everybody packed the buildings and whatnot, and make it known, they're going to walk away from there maybe, just maybe, if they have a brain, they'll think about what they're doing, because they're playing a real dangerous game here.
Yeah, no, that's very true, they are. And, well, it's how many town meetings can we have? How many calls? Petitions. Yeah. At what point do we stop doing this? At what point do we stop the talking? Stop the dialogue, and start acting? When's that point? When do we reach that point?
Well, it's now. I don't think, and you can call these people all you want, you can email them all you want, you ain't going to get nothing back. It's just like this representative that John was talking to. He pretty much slapped him on the shoulder and said, thanks for paying attention to what's going on. And these people are living in a dream world. They have no clue. They have no idea of what's going on with the American people, but they're going to get a real rude awakening. I don't see anything less than a march on Washington, and I'm talking a big march to get their attention. These people are outright, blatantly in our face.
Well, I've seen people call for an armed, people actually with arms marching on Washington, 1 million strong. And, boy, when you start talking like that, that there's, people are riled up. But I don't think, short of an act, a visible act of like that, I don't think we're going to see much of a change.
We're not, let me put my opinion in here.
Yeah, please.
The only change we're going to see is for the worse, regardless of the actions of the people. The only thing on the line is individual people's souls right now. The country is gone. The world is in chaos. There is no recovery, economically, politically. The only hope is in a spiritual recovery of some people that are left with some common sense, or those that can unplug and start to see what's going on. Other than that, I don't see anything changing for the better, ever.
No, not without a real much something to get their attention, I thought about what you said last week, Joe, when I was talking about this 5 million man march, and you said, well, what do we do if they drop a drone bomb on us? And I was laying there that night thinking about that, and I'm thinking, boy, he just threw my whole march right out the window. Because I don't want to see anybody get hurt, and they're liable to do something like that, But,
well,
really running there?
See, Sheila, I don't think Washington. The way I look at Washington right now is, you've got a bunch of people in there with attitudes like Bill Ayers, like we had, like Larry Graffalo was talking about. The Bill Ayers attitude,
yeah.
the revolutionary, and I know that's not the proper word, but that revolutionary attitude. And I think that there are a bunch of bullies, and they're a bunch of bullies. If Americans stood up en masse to these people, I think they would back down. I do. I really do believe that they would back down. I don't think they would double down if they saw the resolve of Americans en masse. And I'm talking about millions of people getting together and saying, we're not going to take this anymore, and descend upon Washington and say, you know what? We're going to surround basically the Capitol, White House, whatever, until we get this resolved. But can we do that?
Look at the Zbigniew Brzezinski comments he made a few years ago, that it is easier to kill 1 million people now than it is to control 1 million people. Where earlier it was easier to control 1 million people than kill 1 million people. You think they care about 1 million people, 1 billion people?
No.
They want the billions of people dead.
Well, then let's give them a fight. If that's what, seriously, and I mean, let's give them if they bring the fight to us, and we have to keep the moral high ground, by the way, then that's different. We have to take a page out of the forefathers, what our forefathers did.
You hit the nail on the head, Doug. We're up against a bunch of thugs.
Well, yeah. But Joe's got a point too. They don't care about life, liberty, God. This is a godless regime. This is a regime that hates us. That's having God. So yeah, I mean it's a whole different animal than it was a couple of hundred years ago. But nonetheless, we've got to maintain that moral high ground, and we've got to make a stand. If we don't make a stand now, when are we going to make a stand? And if it's not us, are we going to look at our children to do it?
We won't. I think it's going to be. I think what's going to happen is people's going to wait until we see the military and the police and God knows who all coming through the neighborhood.
Well,
the other day. Go ahead, Doug.
No, come on. It's your time. Go on.
The other day, I went over to see what Stuart Rhodes was thinking about all this, and of course there was National Gun Association Day, and he was in Idaho, and I watched the video, and 200 people showed up. 200. And half of them didn't have a gun. And he was real disappointed. He asked him, he says, why don't you have your guns? He had his. So I don't know whether these people were afraid, but I was kind of disappointed in that because 200 people wasn't nothing. They should be out there in the masses at this point. And I could tell that Stuart Rhodes was disappointed by it as well.
Well, I would be too. I mean, for crying out loud, 200 people. There's going to be. Where was that in Idaho, by the way? What city or town was that in?
I don't know.
Well, it doesn't matter. I'm sure they could have rustled up 2,000 as opposed to 200. I'm sure.
Yeah, if the people are paying attention to what's going on, yeah. Well, yeah. You think?
Well, yeah. And if we can get 300 or 400 to a town meeting, why couldn't we get 3,000 or 4,000 to an event that Stuart Rhodes was advocating? See, this acquiescence, this complacency of the American public is really what's going to do us in. This is what they're counting on, by the way. I believe the complacency of the American public.
No doubt about it.
And we can't sit back on the couch and watch television. We have to get out there and we have to make our positions known. And I think that until that's done, it's just like the airports and stuff. People go through, oh, well, got to do this. No, we don't have to do it. We've got to take a stand. And if it's not us...
You know what? I saw a commercial a little while ago. It was a Coke commercial, for God's sake. I couldn't believe my eyes. Here was two cowboys on a horse, and they're riding up, and they got to get off the horse, and the TSA is there to assist them.
Nice.
It's called conditioning.
Sure it is.
It's called conditioning. You can see it everywhere, and people are taking it in. I see it all over the commercials, you know, and the agenda, and people, and there's no doubt that's what's the matter with my son and my daughter-in-law here, and my daughter and her husband. They're so wrapped up in the TV and what's going on, they don't realize they're being brainwashed by a lot of this stuff.
That's very true.
You know?
It's very true. Sheila, we've got to break this. We've got to break this this trance that people are in. And you know, what's it gonna? Is it gonna take a shot somewhere? Is that what it's gonna take to wake people up, or is it gonna take another Waco or Ruby Ridge? Is it gonna take? What's it gonna take to cause?
Probably.
Well, you know,
probably something bad. Probably something bad.
What we need to do.
And then that'll be.
But yeah, you know what we need to do, Sheila, is we need to get together right now, and because the longer we wait, the worse it will be. When I say that, I'm not advocating violence. What I'm saying is I'm advocating unity of thought, of purpose. You know, we get unified here.
I saw these videos of our military in Miami. Or down the Keys, wherever, shooting blanks and whatnot. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I could not believe I was seeing it. Our military knows that crap is wrong.
Of course.
That is so wrong. I would say something. I swear, as I'm sitting here, Doug, if they come up this street, I swear I will be out there in a nanosecond.
Well,
and I would not hesitate.
Yeah, especially when they don't have, when people are left alone, I should say, you know, without any type of warning. First of all, they shouldn't be doing it. Number one. Number two, they certainly should not be doing it without people knowing about it. And third, where are the mayors of these towns? You know, why? I mean, if I was a mayor of a town, pardon me.
They're in bed with Obama.
Well, I guess so. I guess you don't see these urban exercises taking place in the states or in the towns or in the cities that are you know. I don't know. Is this the new normal?
Did you see the video where they had a mock shooting in the school? I think it was in Texas.
Yes.
They were shooting blanks in the school.
Yes.
I can't even wrap my brain around that. There's no way my kid would ever. No.
Yeah, I would be very angry with this whole. And I'm angry just, and I'm not personally affected, but that's the thing, Sheila. There's not enough angry people. There's not enough people out there right now at this point in time to make a difference. And you know, we're going to get steamrolled right over if we just adhere to this attitude of acquiescence and complacency. We're going to be steamrolled right over.
I'm not going down that fight. I don't care. I ain't cooperating with nobody. The doctor, nothing.
Very good.
Nobody going to tell me what I'm going to do. Too old. Been too long in the military. Ain't going to happen. They can do whatever they want. I will not comply.
Well, I'm beginning to think that it's the older generation, the older people of our generation, who are going to be responsible for setting down putting down that line and saying, okay, this is it, because you know.
That's what he wanted said.
Where the younger people? Well, you know, sure, God bless you.
Yeah, because smart. They know we can't. They know they can't tell us nothing.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you very much, Sheila. God bless you, and you have a great night. We appreciate your call.
I will, and tomorrow night should be very interesting.
Indeed, it will. Talking about tomorrow night with what's going to take place in the Middle East, or what's taking place in the Middle East, because there is active shooting going on right now in Israel and such.
Yes, this from the Jerusalem Post. Israel strikes at Syrian-Lebanon border. Sources say target was truckload of weapons going from Syria to Lebanon, says diplomat, adding that cache likely not chemical weapons. Israeli forces attacked a convoy on the Syrian-Lebanese border on Wednesday, sources told Reuters, after Israelis warned the Lebanese enemy Hezbollah against using chaos in Syria to acquire anti-aircraft missiles or chemical weapons. The target was a truck loaded with weapons heading from Syria to Lebanon, said a Western diplomat, adding the consignment seemed unlikely to have included chemical weapons. A source among the rebels fighting Syrian President Assad said an airstrike around dawn blasted a convoy on a mountain track about 5 kilometers south of where the main Damascus-Beirut highway crosses the border. Its load has probably included high-tech anti-aircraft and anti-tank missiles. And what we're going to have Mr. Salas on tomorrow night, this is something he is going to address. Also, when you look at the book is Isaiah 17, when it talks about Damascus becoming a ruinous heap.
That's right.
We are watching this in real time happening right now. Isaiah 17, the burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap.
Well, this brings me back to October 8th, or October 8th, 2012 program, when we talked about the article that was written. It was based information based from my source within the intelligence community. The article is posted both at HomelandSecurityUS.com and CanadaFreePress.com. Lemmings at the precipice of World War III. Okay, now in that article, we were the only radio show at the time. We were the only broadcasting entity at the time to raise the issue of chemical weapons. And in that article, and we talked about it on our October 8th, 2012 show, we stated that all that is needed is for a dutiful media to present one image, a video, or some other proof that Assad is using or has their hands on unconventional weapons, chemical weapons. This would provide the necessary pretext for the United States and NATO to intervene and ramp up the war against Assad. Now, what do we find out? We found out here just 2 days ago that Britain admitted that their emails were hacked, the equivalent of the Defense Department were hacked, and that there was an email contained in there to make it look like Assad was using chemical weapons on his people. And as a matter of fact, the email was it stated here, we've got a new offer. It's about Syria. The Qataris propose an attractive deal and swear that the idea is approved by Washington, meaning that would mean Clinton and Obama. We'll have to deliver a chemical weapon to homes of Soviet origin G-shell from Libya, similar to those that Assad should have. They want us to deploy our Ukrainian personnel that should speak Russian and make a video record. Now, that's from an email that was hacked out of the British Department of Defense, Britain's Defense Business Development Director, David Golding. Now here's the thing. We talked about this October 8th. Now this is coming out on January 28th. So we were, 3 months ahead of the curve on this, and here's the proof. Even though Britain's denying the authenticity of these emails, what do you just make these up? Of course not. Folks, we're telling you, we're being set up for a third world war. We're like the lemmings on a turntable in that, if you remember that 1958 or whatever it was, 58 Disney documentary, White Wilderness, that purported to show the lemmings, jumping off the cliff. Well, no, they were on the turntable. They were throwing them off the cliff. We're on that turntable. This is what's going on right now. This is a scripted war. And I've got to tell you, we are looking at World War III. So tomorrow night, with the information from Bill Salas, we're going to put all this together. Do people understand that even the Pike letter to Mazzini, we need that third world war to usher in this new world order. This is what it's all about. Mm-hmm. And understand this, we are being played for fools by Obama, by Hillary Clinton. Obama is a cutout Obama is nothing more than a cutout. Remember me talking about mind control? This is part of it as well. We're being conditioned. We're being controlled. The school shootings, everything from the school shootings to what we're seeing overseas, to what's being reported on the news.
Yeah.
This is all mind control. This is all pushing us in a certain direction.
Speaking of what's being reported in the news, I just want to play this clip of an MSNBC contributor talking about hateful language.
Dynamic here is to let the House Republicans fight with the Senate Republicans. Let them go after McCain. Let McCain and Rubio and the others get into this fight and not make it Boehner versus Obama. I think Obama would win that fight, but nothing would happen then.
But as in 05, 06, the death knell for Republicans is the tone of this conversation. Yes. They absolutely, we had evangelical Latinos wanting to meet with Howard Dean at the DNC because, I mean, I'm just saying, like, that's a shift, right?
It's not the beginning to a bad joke. It happened in the world.
And the point being, I mean, and we saw in droves, you know, the Latino community moving over to the Democratic Party largely because of the tone. And you had even Republicans in the Republican Party who were Latino just disgusted with the tone. So these guys have to be very, very careful. I think that's the other thing that these guys know is that those, you know, crazy crackers on the right, like if they start with their very hateful language, that is going to kill them in the same way that they learned at their little retreat that let's not talk about race.
Or they learned in 2012 that
crazy crackers on the right? This is an MSNBC contributor who was railing against the hateful language of the Republican. Crazy crackers on the right? Yeah. Yeah. Folks, did you hear that? It's getting real bad. We see things happening. Eric Holder is acting on a gun data sharing program, not waiting for Congress to act. Attorney General Eric Holder is moving on gun control, submitting 3 measures Monday to increase data sharing, data collection on firearms and potential gun purchases, and illustrating the limitations President Obama's administration has to act unilaterally on the issue. The first of Mr. Holder's proposal would expand access to information on gun permits to Indian tribal law enforcement agencies. The second would allow law enforcement to access the FBI's National Criminal Database to conduct background checks on people that they're transferring weapons to. And third would authorize the FBI to maintain records on denied firearms transactions in a separate database for longer than 10 years. All 3 were published Monday in a Federal Register for comment. And it goes on. This is the same Eric Holder that says, you know, we want to brainwash people into taking a different approach on how they look at guns. And it goes on to say, Mr. Obama has said he will take the steps that he can on gun violence unilaterally, but he won't be able to get major pieces of his package: an assault weapons ban, limits on high-capacity magazines, expanding background checks, without action from Congress. He signed 3 presidential memorandum when he rolled out his proposals earlier this month, directing the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, to conduct research on gun violence, ensuring firearms recovered from crime scenes are traced, and directing Mr. Holder's Justice Department, the same one that shipped thousands of guns and other weapons to Mexican drug cartels, to outline guidance for federal agencies on submitting records to the NICS. But even Holder conceded that the impact of Monday's proposals are unknown at this point, in part because the lack of the data the government has about the kind of transfers the new rules would allow. Public has 60 days to comment on these proposals. Broader gun control measures will undoubtedly be discussed Wednesday morning at the Senate Judiciary Committee, the one you talked about. That's right. That's right. Watching. It says witnesses that are scheduled to appear are Wayne LaPierre, Executive Vice President and CEO of the NRA, a group that has opposed Mr. Obama's proposals. Not only opposed Mr. Obama's proposals, but is now labeled a terrorist organization by many because of their stance against the Second Amendment. Because of the pro Second Amendment stance by the NRA. That was a poorly written sentence, by the way, but yeah, this is incredible. You know, people often ask, what's this going to look like? How's this going to play out? You know, the way I see it, and this is something as I was watching the Senate hearings today. You know, I don't believe there will be any, well, let me tell you what I think in part will play, or how this could play out in part. You're not going to have people in uniforms, obviously. There are not going to be any blue and gray uniforms as there were during the Civil War. You're not going to have the northern states versus the southern states. The battle's going to happen in our own neighborhoods. They're going to take place in our cities, our countryside, and it's going to involve everyone, even those who want to be left out of the battle are going to be involved. You're either going to be a fighter or you're going to be a victim. Now, when I say that, I'm not talking about, I'm talking about the people that are, I'm not talking about 100% of the population, or, you know, the people that are infirmed or whatever. I'm talking about the people that put themselves out there. And they're not going to be, I don't believe they're going to be sides, any particular obvious sides to this, beyond those who are constitutionalists versus those who want to shred the Constitution and destroy the Republic. But there will be bloodshed. That is going to, and I believe this to be the case. But there will be underground movements. There's going to be meetings in basements and bars and abandoned buildings. This is what I see in the middle of nowhere. You're going to have people that are going to be meeting with one another. You're going to have ambushes, bombs blowing up, government buildings and police stations being targeted. This is what I see, ambushes in the middle of the night on soldiers and police, especially if they bring in soldiers to restore order. Those people, those soldiers that will fire on American citizens. No. I see this taking place.
And I say we have no part in that whatsoever.
Well, we have no part in it. You mean it's not going to happen?
No, we should have no part in any kind of ambushes or, well, no part. I mean, in my opinion, we have the Lord's protection. We rely on His guidance and what He tells us to do whenever those moments arise. But the people who are going to go provoking violence.
No, I'm not talking about provoking violence.
The people who want the fight, though. The people that are saying, you know, oh, come and take it and see what happens.
I'm talking about people who are going to be victimized by the people who are out there to take away our rights and our weapons. I mean, they're not just after our guns. They're after our rights. They're after us as people.
Right.
And I, for one, I'm not going to roll over and die on my knees,
no,
or die in my bed.
But He says you should. But there's a huge difference between engaging in a war that might be not only personally, physically fatal, but spiritually fatal. We're not to be a part of this world or anything in it, according to the Word. We're supposed to live our life under obedience, under the laws of God, and not under the laws of men, which, whether they're legal or illegal, it doesn't matter. We are not to be a part of that chaos. And the Lord will protect us if we're not.
But when it comes to your back door, your front door, your side door, what are you going to do? Say,
jump out the window?
What, I'm not going to be a part of it?
I'm not saying don't defend yourself or people on it, or your family. What I'm saying is people are going to be taken by surprise. People are going to be caught off guard. People are not going to be sitting there holding their guns all aimed at the front and back door, ready for an assault on their house. Things are going to happen. We aren't soldiers.
Of course not.
So, I mean, this is all foreign to us.
Yes.
So what protection, I mean, where would you put your protection in? Strategies for how to take out people that are coming to try to get you or your guns, or strategies to survive and remain obedient?
Okay, here's how I describe obedience to God, all right? If there was a flood, and my house is second floor underwater, and I'm on the roof, and there is a helicopter that comes by, I'm not going to wave that helicopter on saying, no, God's going to save me. And when a boat comes by, and I'm not going to wave that boat on saying, no, God's going to save me, and then drown. Because God gave me two different exit strategies. And I said no. Why? Because I was so heavenly minded, I wasn't earthly grounded. That's why. Okay, what I'm saying to you is, yes, yes, we have to follow the word, but we also have to understand that God is going to give us exit strategies, and we have to take them.
Right. But the only way we'll know those exit strategies is if we're in His Word, in prayer, and we know Him, and we rely on Him instead of relying on things in this earth, whether it be guns or food storages or whatever. I'm not saying it's bad to have those things, because you will need them. You might need them.
And if you don't,
but don't rely on them.
Well, no.
That's all I'm saying.
No, we're saying the same thing, just in different notes, if you will, of the same song. We have to trust in God, obviously, in this. We have to ask for discernment, but we also have to be wise enough to understand that God will save us, but we have to put some effort into it ourselves. But what I'm telling you is, I see people that, there will be fighting in the streets. There will be ambushes. There will be those people who come to take our guns, who come to take our rights, who come to take our family members to these re-education camps, which are real, as Larry Grathwell had indicated last night. Okay,
they're real.
No one's going to take a family member of mine. No one's going to take me. I'm sorry, that's just not going to happen. Or if they do, they're going to have to drag out a dead limp body, because I'm not going to allow that to happen. Now, does that mean that I forsake my belief in God or my trust in God? Of course I don't. Of course I don't.
And this is a discussion that I see us having many more debates and talks on as the things that are happening in the world continue to get worse. We're up against the break. Folks, we'll be right back. When we come back, your calls, 661-244-9839. We're going to go to Dave, Donna, and the rest of you on hold. If you want to come on in, get in line now. You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. We'll be right back.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your #1 priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Break Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com. Or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
Hi folks, Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the Internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Aileta Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
Doug Hagmann. One guy that doesn't need a bullhorn to get your attention. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to hour number 3 of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report for this, the 30th day of January 2013. I'm Doug Hagmann. With me in studio is Joe Hagmann, and together we are the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. None say that we have to agree all the time, and that's part of the issues. We face divisiveness, we face diversity of opinion and diversity, but as long as we have unity, as long as we're unified in the objective, that's what counts. We can debate doctrine, we can talk about strategy. That's all part of the extended family.
It's healthy to have good debates and hear other people's point of views, constructive criticism, and
we need it. That's right. Look, every one of us out here, and I'll say this again. I know people get tired of hearing this, but there are a lot of new listeners. Look, we're all extended family, and we all have been born for this place, this moment in time, and we all have our jobs to do. We all have to play our positions. We all have to play them well. And whatever your position is, you've got to pray about it. You've got to really use your own discernment to understand what your position is. But we all have to do it in concert with one another. We can disagree on certain things, on the nuances of little things here and there. But I know together we are of one mind, and that one mind is God, country, and family. And when I say country, I'm talking about what was the idea of a constitutional republic, or the rights bestowed upon us by God as delineated through the Constitution. So the God, country, family, together. That's what the big picture. Two things before we get to the phones. I want to thank Sandy again for sending me this email, and I heard this, and I wanted to just make sure everyone who follows Rick Wiles, True News yesterday. Rick played a show from 13 years ago.
Yeah,
2000.
I got to listen to the first 20 minutes of his show.
Okay,
about the UN Small Arms Treaty.
Well, this was,
and he talked about what was happening now. Went back to an older clip from him.
Right.
And he was talking about the same thing and laying out exactly in detail what the UN Small Arms Treaty was, how it was going to
UN gun control. That's correct. Yes.
And if you guys, we talked about the internment resettlement operations document by the Army, and in here, they talk about different things like using international and intergovernmental organizations. They say international organizations and intergovernmental organizations will often have a presence in areas in which U.S. forces may conduct operations, especially if those areas have some type of unrest or upheaval prior to the U.S. operations. Under the United Nations, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, Interpol, and the International Crime Police, Interpol is the International Crime Police Organization, will provide support, whether it is logistical, troops, and these will usually be conducted in assessments of local areas that focus on the needs of the local populace. They talk about urban areas will be a primary focus of these reports. And during U.S. operations in the urban environment, international organizations and NGOs may continue to maintain a presence.
Well, they're talking about the third and final stage, as Sandy points out, too, the United Nations plan. It goes back to a book that was written back in the 50s. It lays out the plan in 3 stages, and we're in the third and final stage right now. It was set in motion by JFK on September 25th, 1961. And so, but yeah, getting back to just the Rick Wiles show, if you get a chance, Rick Wiles, True News, definitely take a listen to that program. Rick is a great friend of our program and a great guy. I've been on the show.
I was going to upload the clip I listened to today, but it was too long.
Yeah,
you got to listen to it for yourself.
Yeah, and certainly give him the. And look, as talk show hosts too, we've got to play our position, and we've got to educate the people, inform the people, and that's what we're trying to do as well. And I know Rick's doing a great job on this, and we've talked off air about what's taking place. But anyway, and Sandy, by the way, I do know your birthday now. Oh boy. Anyway, and I want to thank Ken, also from Nebraska, who sent me this just moments ago. Walmart. We had talked. Remember I mentioned earlier about Walmart. Well, Walmart. Breitbart's reporting that Walmart is limiting ammunition purchases. So they're citing shortages. Walmart, one of the nation's leading sites for ammunition and gun sales, reportedly caved to pressure from the leftist media, limiting ammunition sales per customer. According to Walmart spokesman, customers will be restricted to purchasing 3 boxes per day thanks to supply shortages. In order to take care of as many customers as possible, all ammunition sales were limited to 3 boxes per customers per day, as supply is limited at this time. Now, two things about this. Number one, if I go into Walmart and pay cash for 3 boxes and then go an hour later, how are they going to know that
facial recognition software, Janet Napolitano's watching you through their TV screen?
Okay, well, if that's the case, I would like to try this. I would like to test this out using cash. Only because
and all video saves the incarceration.
Well, no, I mean it's a company policy. It's not a law. So but I would like to know how that is possible. How they would enforce that. Perhaps of course, at least in the Walmarts that I've been in, all the ammunition is, or most of the ammunition is in a locked case. Some of the shotgun stuff is left out, or others is left out. Anyway, thanks again in Nebraska and listening on the internet. Appreciate that information. But once again, I just want to remind people too about tomorrow night with Bill Salas at the 3rd hour. But also, please, folks, if you haven't read on either Canada Free Press or HomelandSecurityUS.com, our article from October 8th, 2012, Lemmings at the Precipice of World War III. Please give that a read again in light of what we know now about the setup of Syria with chemical weapons. And by the way, you will see a chemical incident take place in Syria that will start the involvement of NATO and of course our troops. Now let's go to the phones. I believe we've got a 248 number on hold. Do we not?
Yep.
Okay, let's 248. You're up. Go ahead, 248. You're up.
Hello, how are you guys?
Very well. What's on your mind tonight?
I just wanted to respond to what Joe said. First of all, I'd like to thank both of you gentlemen. You guys do a really, really, really good job, and you guys make an awesome team for a father and son. It's just, it's unbelievable, and it's so real. Many times you guys don't agree, don't see things the way it is, but it just lets you know how real and true to your nature that you two gentlemen are, and I just want to really thank you, and God bless you for what you do. Joe, I want to also congratulate you for your faith. But you have to remember, when Moses was on the hill praying in the Spirit, warfaring in the Spirit, other men of God were in the field dying by the sword for the Lord. God has warriors and soldiers in every walk of life. He might have somebody praying somewhere. He might have somebody dying somewhere for him. This country is there's a sleeping giant in this country. And that sleeping giant is Christians that don't go to church, that aren't caught up into the news and the media, and they see clearly what's going on. They're on their faces hours a day, and they clearly are hearing from the Lord. And I'm telling you something, when this whole thing breaks out, there will be armies that this country has never, ever dreamed of seeing before. I tell you right now that they know about it. They know about these people that are out here. But these people will not stand down. They are ready to die just like any other terrorist, but they know where they're going after they go. They're not worried about their families or their children or anything else like that, because they know that the Lord has them secure at the end of the day. But, as far as protecting your home, this country is our home. This is our land. And we are invaded right now. And if it means laying down our lives, then fine. What good is it to be a slave to these people, and not stand up for the things of God just to keep this flesh? There's many ways of looking at this instead of just one way. You know what I mean?
I love it. I love it, caller. You know what, Joe? How do you respond to that?
No, I agree to a degree with the caller, and there were lots of people that perished in battle in the Old Testament and over the land of Israel and other things.
Yeah, you know, it's not about being tough or John Wayne or saying, come get me or this or that. It's about being led by the Lord. Believe it or not, God does tell a person to pick up a sword and defend my word and lay down your life. You know, it's amazing how Christians aren't willing to lay down their lives, but Muslims are willing to do it, blow themselves on a plane, kill innocent babies, women, and children. And when it comes down for real warfare, standing up for things that are meant for us to stand up for, a lot of Christians, you know, they just whimper up and want to run to a closet and, you know, say a few Hail Marys. But that doesn't work. You know, I mean, you know, you see all the churches they're burning down in the world. Well, I say load up. If you want to come burn my church, then we're going to fight every last drop. You know, we're not just going to, you know, this whole notion, and it's biblical. I don't know who's teaching these things. The whole notion that, you know, we don't do these things. I'm sorry. In the Bible, it's there. In the Bible, we were ordered by the Lord to wipe out whole nations because they were full of evil, full of all different type of abominations, and he didn't even want us to keep their cattle. He didn't even want us to keep their jewelry. He didn't even want us to keep their furniture. And the ones who did, guess what? The Holy Spirit showed up and killed them himself. So I mean, God is not a joke. He's not a wimp. He's not some guy that's, you know, worried about his people. He already knows that many of us are going to die, but he knows that many of us are going to stand up to the very last drop, and then we know where we're going when we die. You know, it's not about being tough, or no one wants to be hurt or stand up and be a hero. But at the end of the day, yes, there are prayer warriors. I pray very hard. I promise you, I cry for this nation, you know, and the last thing I want to do is punch a man, hurt anyone. But the Lord, if you are close to the Lord, He will move across your heart and tell you, look, your days are numbered, and you are to go out there and die right on the battlefield, and that's it. That's it, you know. And once you get those orders from Him, you know, there's just no looking back from there. And I don't always agree with Doug, and I don't always agree with you, but I agree with both of you as a team. I think you're awesome. And, you know, I know the Lord is using you in amazing ways, and I know that there are many people that can't hear a voice in this country, and that God is using you two gentlemen to, I mean, just literally rock people to sleep and give them hope at the end of the day, and I think that's awesome. And I'm not here to chastise anybody. I'm just here to fellowship. I appreciate Doug. He's from the old school, and I appreciate Joe because he's more on the spiritual side. And Doug, I wanted to tell you something. I thought about this like 2 days ago, and it just kept running across me while I was in prayer. You know, you are a man that investigates. You look into things, and you check things out, and you get a second opinion and a second opinion, and you're not a fool. But I'm telling you, brother, you are going to have to investigate that Bible, too. That is your number one investigation, and investigating in the Word of God and just not men and men's affairs. Because, you know, you are an awesome man. It was amazing how fast you got healed from this flu virus. Man, I know people that were down for almost a month. And, you know, these prayers here work. These people out here that pray for you, that stuff works, man. I really pray to God that you know what, no one can read the Bible and be done with it. There's just no such thing. The book is too miraculous. But, I mean, we always need to keep a chapter or a verse or a scripture or something in our minds and hearts every single day. And it's just a little piece at a time. And I just want to encourage you. I also want to thank you guys. God bless you guys. You guys are the realest father and son team I think I've ever heard in my life.
Well, thank you very, very much for that vote of confidence. Yeah, we don't put
a lot of important things in this call.
We don't put on any airs. I mean, what you see is what you get. This is the real thing, and you know that's it. But you're right, caller. You mentioned a couple of interesting things. Let me address the flu thing. I got to tell you something. The prayers are the only thing. It's not vitamin C, not Tamiflu, not Tylenol, not any of that. It's the prayers that really got me back up, because I've talked to people that were down for a month, and you know, 104. It's you know, 5 days, 104.5 temperature, delusional. I mean, seeing monkeys almost. I say that tongue in cheek, of course, but so the prayers work. And you know what, caller, you're right on something else too. I need, boy, do I need, and I think everyone needs to really grab the Bible and investigate the Bible like an instruction manual, like a reverent book. You're absolutely right in that, because
we talked before the show.
Yes, we did.
It seems like we spend more time trying to decipher what evil is being brought upon us more so than what is in the Word of the Lord. And I see a problem with that. And, I mean, why worry about the evil being formed against us when we know what their fate already is? And caller, you alluded to something earlier. No, I'm all for defending family, and I'd give my life in a second for someone else if that situation arose. But when I heard you say the most important thing was it's part of God's plan. He will show you. He will lead you. Like He will let you know. And I believe that we can't go off, half-cocked with a vengeful heart looking to stop the evil through offensive actions. We have to be patient and wait for His word.
We are being attacked. We're being attacked on so many levels. This mind control is just everywhere. God has showed me in the spirit. It's everywhere. It was here before we were born. We're dealing with entities that are way far more advanced than us, and they're using these men, and they don't even know it. I mean, the battle is so intense right now that sometimes it's hard for us to get off of our faith. And you know what? The closer you get to the Lord, you're crying over things you don't even know what you're crying over, because He's pushing this energy and this force that's going on in this world into His people. And I'm telling you something right now that this country belongs to the Lord. And if He has to wipe it from start to finish to get people's attention, He will. And He's using little old ragtag guys like you, just regular old guys, talking to millions and millions of people. And you know what? I think it's funny because the enemy hates it. He can't do anything about it. And I'll tell you something, Doug, and I'm going to let you guys go. I heard that you were sick, and I was laying on the bed, and I said, I thought I was going to, send up a simple little prayer. And I automatically knew, I automatically knew, man, I'm late. You have people out there that are praying for you and praying for this, praying for your life, praying for your walk in faith with God, and praying for your program, and praying for your families, but also praying for the cause that God has you here on this earth for. That's the most important thing. It's not our families. It's not our loved ones. It's the Word of God and what He has us here for, because at the end of the day, we all have to make it to our real homes, And that's just very, very important. I God bless you guys. You know what? It's funny. I'll be around. I do a lot of things. I'll be around, and I'll just be like, man, it's only 7 o'clock. I'm waiting on 8 o'clock for Doug and Joe. And because it's real. You know what? I cannot watch the news anymore. I just can't do it. As soon as I turn it on, it's just like, you guys are lying. You guys are reading to me. I can do that myself.
Sure.
As soon as I go outside and I see the way that these policemen are, and I see the fear in people's eyes, and I see how evil even the children are today, and how they're being misled in the direction that this country is going to, I feel anger from the Father in heaven. I feel anger and rage from the Father in heaven. And He does have wrath. He's just not some nice little fluffy guy up there. Listen, let me tell you something. I can't send a fly to hell. I don't have enough heart to send a fly to hell. But we're dealing with a God that has the heart and the word and He doesn't will, but He will not go against His word. He will send billions if He has to an eternity in hell forever. And that's the type of being that we're dealing with. And that's the type of being that I'm afraid of. I'm not afraid of these people. I'm not afraid of this government. The one that I'm afraid of is the one that has my soul, and that's Him. And that's a very important thing. And I thank you guys for Steve Quayle. I thank you guys for having spiritual people. I thank you, Doug, for standing up for your principles and saying, hey, I'm going to talk about Jesus whether it brings me a dime or not. I thank you for bringing up other people. You're not money hungry. You are purpose driven. And that is a blessing. And both of you gentlemen are a blessing. One of these days I'm going to call in and I'm going to pray for you guys. My name is Mel. I'm in Michigan, and I just appreciate it. And God bless you. And Joe, I wish so many 30-year-olds were like you. You are, when I hear your young little voice and the wisdom and that you have so fast with the Lord, I already know that when you were young, you were a mess. You already been through violence, so yeah, when God is finished with you, you want to be a nice guy. Well, there's some people that when they were young, they were nice, but then they were ignorant. And then God's finished with them, now they're ready to be tough guys. I mean, it's just the way he is. He brings a high, low, and he brings a low high, but we all have to work together. But this Christian remnant that is in this country is going to be forced to stand up because they never stood up for the babies. They never stood up for anything that's going out here for the school. They never stood up. They stood out of the way for the government. They stood out of the way, for all this other stuff that's going on and all this evil and all these homosexuals and everything else. Well, we're not going to stand out of the way for the war. That's when we're going to decide, hey, look, this is it. Our backs are against the wall. It's not about this life anymore. We have to make a stand for eternity. Thank you, gentlemen, and God bless you.
Oh, man, God bless you, Mel. God call anytime.
Thank you for the wonderful call.
Wow. And purpose-driven. I like that characterization because I feel that we're purpose-driven. I really do.
Even though we didn't know what our purpose was?
Well,
when we started.
Yeah, and that's a weird thing. And I think a lot of people are like that. If you think about your life, you're listening to this program. If you think about where you're at, your station in life, you might not know what your purpose is right now, and that's okay because you will be led. I believe if you have your ear to the Bible or ear to the Word, you'll be led. And we have to stop fighting too. That was my biggest thing, man. I would fight and kick and and you're not dragging me over here, and of course things change when you're confronted with a or not alternative, but with a ultimatum. You either stop talking about this on the radio, so, you lose your pro-life stance, or stop being so political and spiritual, and then you can stay. You can still have us as a client, or hey, or if you don't, you've made your decision. So there was really no decision to be made, and that kind of pushed us into where we're at now, because and that's kind of what happened. It's just bizarre, but it's God's word, it's God's work in our life, and I think that people listening to us that are not certain if they're at their station in life where they need to be, you'll get there. Just listen and don't fight God when He's telling you things. Don't fight that. Man, no, that's what I was doing. I was fighting every step of the way. And even Joe, for being as young, and my son, fathers can learn a lot if they watch their children. And it's weird to say children when he's bigger than I am, almost, but it's humbling, by the way. So anyway,
yeah, it was a great call. We're going to move on. Area code 281. You're up next. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hello, gentlemen. This is Sharon from Texas.
Hi.
I know you heard you heard about the training that went on in Houston yesterday.
Yes,
well, in Galveston, they're having a training tonight. The U.S. Army. It's a Special Forces from North Carolina, no doubt.
Right, from Fort Bragg. Yes.
Right.
Delta Force.
I don't understand why, because Delta Force. We have, Special Forces here at Fort Hood. Why are they sending someone from North Carolina down here? Doesn't make sense.
Well, okay, what is the mission of Delta Force? And then I think that, they're training for urban warfare, and I believe they're training for urban warfare here in the United States.
Yes, they are. I have the document right here.
Right.
So,
and we had one other incident about 6 months ago in Texas City, where I sent you an email. I don't know if you remember that, but they were training for water, on the water,
Oh,
and
yes.
It's just as strange, that it's all happening right around me. And, I didn't know if you knew about it. It's local, but still, strange.
Well, so you're really close to the action there. What are people saying, if anything? Is it like, oh well, it's just it's just their training, or are they a little bit upset or a little bit concerned about what's going on?
The people that I talk to are listening to the local news, and they're kind of making small thing out of it, and it's just they're training for another Sandy Hook, But in my way of thinking, that just doesn't wash,
No, that's true.
I don't know. And I got a little quirky thing to tell you. I live in a city, and 2 miles from me, there are thousands, and I mean thousands, of buzzards that roost in trees every night, bar none. Thousands of them. The trees are black with these creatures. And we pass them every day. It's really strange.
So, wait a minute, thousands of buzzards in trees?
Yes, they're roosting on trees. They're roosting on signs, those billboards. They're roosting on businesses. Every night.
Wow. Wow.
It's strange. It's really strange.
All of a sudden,
interesting.
You're not Tippi Hedren, are you? I mean, from the birds. That was a poor.
No. I've got witnesses.
No. I was making light of that. That's kind of a strange. Have you seen that? I mean, that seems like a strange thing to take place. All these buzzards and blackbirds. Wow.
Every night. Yeah, wow. You can go by this one street and you can see them as far as you can see. I'm sure there's thousands of them.
Wow. That's odd. I mean, I don't.
I remember being a kid, all the birds used to gather at dusk in a tree, and I'd bang on one of those fire burners of the
bird barrels,
and they'd all fly away.
But still,
we are seeing changes with the Earth. We are seeing massive die-offs of fish, birds. We're seeing the effects of Fukushima on sea life and wildlife in the Pacific, the Gulf oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, and in other areas with no explanation as to why these die-offs are happening.
Yeah, but I'd like to wonder. I kind of wonder what's. I'd like to know what the official explanation is of the birds like that. But well, that's interesting. Definitely interesting. Wow.
I don't think anyone has ever looked into it, but I could ask around. But it's just strange. You go down the street and you can see them. Like I said, as far as you can see.
My goodness. Well,
It
almost feels like an omen, with the buzzards.
I know. Who are they waiting on?
Yeah. You don't want to send your little dog out there. Never mind. Well, Carl, thank you so very much. Appreciate you listening, and stay safe over out in Texas, and watch the weather.
Oh, we will. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Yeah, Joe, these drills disturb me a lot. And preparing for another Sandy Hook. Come on, are you going to send in the Delta Force in the Sandy Hook situation? What are they hiding?
We've talked about this before. This document. It is FM 2-91-4.
FM 291-4.
2-91-4. 2-91.4. It's an intelligence support to urban operations, the headquarters of the Department of Army.
Okay.
And also, you can look up the U.S. Army Internment and Resettlement PDF, which is entitled Internment and Resettlement Operations, FM 3-39.4. And they lay out exactly what they're going to do. We went over this in detail not too long ago, where they talk about when they process detainees, whether they be terrorists,
right,
extreme terrorists, detainees, or displaced citizens. They have protocols such as silencing those praying or singing by muffling them by placing a sock in their mouth while wrapping a paper or something around it to keep sure that it's in there. They talk about having religious, church services in these facilities that will only preach the universally accepted version of that religion, and that people who are extreme to their religion, and let me put this in Christian terms, real Christian terms, people who really believe the word of the Bible, the words in the Bible and what they say, will be non-compliant with this new teaching in these camps. And we went through this earlier.
I'm not sure I'm understanding this. What are you telling me? What are you telling us? That's what? Explain this a little bit.
Okay. What they talk about in the internment and resettlement operations document is that what they're going to do is they might have to repopulate areas based on some kind of civilian activity interfering with military operations, a terrorist attack, or some other type of unforeseeable.
So they're talking about moving portions of the population.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
For various reasons.
All right.
And I'm looking for the page here, but they talk about the detainees and the people that will be how they're going to process these people as they are moved into the camps.
All right.
And if I can find the page here, and I think it was page 67.
Okay, but the bottom line is they've got a plan for us, and what you're saying is this is all laid out. Look, General Wesley Clark talked about this neoconservative, this regime change in the Middle East some 20 years ago. So this is no surprise to me, but go on.
Well, just quick from this Army resettlement document on page 69, it says detainee processing techniques. And these are techniques using search, silence, segregate, and safeguard and tag techniques. And silence is the second one. Prevent detainees from communicating with one another or making audible clamor, such as singing or praying. Silence the uncooperative detainees by muffling them with a soft, clean cloth tied around their mouths and fastened to the back of their head.
Who's the author of this?
Do not use duct tape or other adhesives.
Who wrote this?
Who wrote this? This distribution is authorized as the Department of Defense and Department of Defense contractors only to protect technical or operational information from the automatic dissemination under the International Exchange Program.
All right. So here's the instruction manual for handling people like us.
Given to the U.S. Military Police School, Army.mil. The publication is Army Knowledge Online at www.us.army.mil. General Dennis J. Raymer, Training and Doctrine Digital Library at www.train.army.mil.
All right, so this is what their plans are for us.
Yes, this is from the Department of Defense headquarters. The Department of the Army headquarters from Washington, D.C., February 12, 2010.
All right. So this is what we've got to look forward to. So we've got some insight into. And
this gets worse. It talks about what is in Obamacare with the Social Security numbers, changing them to, instead of SS numbers, like ISC numbers, or there's a term that goes along with this for identifying it. And the tagging that they talk about, and the preachers that they talk about. What do you mean preachers? They have a clip uploaded. They talk about the clergy response team.
Okay, the clergy. Okay,
that's a clip from that when Katrina happened. But in this document, it goes on to say how they will deal with the religious practices in detainees, and they say that they will only teach the universally accepted teachings of each respective religion.
Which, by the way, folks, is going toward
that would be like
plan of a one-world religion.
Them teaching Christianity and saying that it is pro-homosexual, pro-abortion, pro-Obama, basically.
This is a document that you showed me earlier, right?
Yes.
All right.
And actually, you have emails of individual key points of this document.
Yeah, right. But I just want to be clear on this because you're talking about a concept here that I think people don't, are not actually really understanding that how widespread and the scope of this is going to be so huge. We're all going to be in this together, and ultimately they're going to defile Christianity, Islam, and Judaism.
Yeah.
To morph it into one religion, one world religion that's acceptable to the one world order, and that's.
Go on the United Nations website. You can find the information of their plans there.
Yes.
And I got an interesting email, and we're going to go back to the phones. I just wanted to read this because I think a lot of people are. I'll read some of it. I think a lot of people are in this position. A lady sent me a message and said she is worried about her son because of the movie and movies that Zeitgeist. They had released a couple other movies. And her son is completely bought into these things. And she asked any help and information on how to reach her son and get him away from the mindset of these movies, which, if those who aren't familiar, it is an anti-religious movie where it just goes on to say that Jesus is a recreated story from 7 times over again, and religion is used just to control people. But that's something I'm gonna put together a good informative piece. And
I think that would be good because I think other people are in that position as well.
Yeah, not only send it to her, but do something on the show about it. And it's interesting that I think the MIAC report or one of the DHS reports lists that movie. It puts it up there with the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, and that's like a psyop inside a psyop.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to demonize something that they want pushed through.
As a comparison, well, I don't want to get too far out on the limb here, but think about this. You've got people like John Brennan, who he's up for the CIA directorship. Well, actually, that's a bad comparison. Let me walk that back, and you go ahead and continue with what you were saying.
Yeah, I was done. I just wanted to.
I got an email from Louise here. I just want to address real quick. Just wondering if there's a connection between Hillary Clinton's head wound and mind control. You know what? The more I look into this, I don't think that there's a direct connection there. The origin of her head wound is still clouded in some mystery. I know that the Russians reported that she was involved in a plane crash or a hard landing, not a plane crash, a hard landing, and that's very possible. I don't know that to be a fact, but in terms of her head wound and mind control, I don't see it directly. Now, that said, we're still looking at different aspects of things with respect to Hillary Clinton. The second part of this is. She just wanted to say that she was on the beach in Marco Island, Florida today in a black helicopter, a military-style black helicopter, I would assume, flew very close over the beach around 4 o'clock, which was very unusual. And we're getting
today. Not in today's day and age.
You know what? We're getting reports, more and more reports of these military-style unmarked helicopters, black, dark-colored helicopters flying, even here in the Great Lakes.
We had what are those big double turbined?
Well, I don't know. What are those double blade things?
Basically, they transport helicopters that have the weapons capabilities. Like 6 or 7 of those I saw one day. I saw 2 the next day. They're big green things with what you see landing in Afghanistan.
Right.
Yeah. And they've been flying around Lake Erie area for...
This is one thing that we're going to ask Steve and Greg Evenson. Greg Evenson's got some tremendous contacts in the military and in the law enforcement communities. We're going to ask him about this. So Louis on Saturday, definitely if you can tune in.
All right, we're going to go back to the phones. We got a bunch of people on hold, so we're going to try and keep them quick. We're going to go to Dave in Long Island first. Dave, you're live on the Hagmann Report. How are you tonight?
Hey, Joe. How you doing? Hey, Doug. How you doing? Hope. No, not hope. Glad you're back. Glad you're feeling better.
Right on. Thank you, man.
You're welcome. Real quick, Joe, you had that person on that night when I called in when your father was sick, but I don't know if anybody knows about a Buffalo attorney, Jim Trezmon's class action suit to repeal the unconstitutional ban in New York.
Jim Trezmon?
Any word on that? Yes.
No, I haven't heard anything, but I'll check it out.
Can I then make a statement to any New Yorkers out there, any conservative, not liberal? No, I'm only kidding. You'd have to send an email to trezmondlaw@gmail.com. I don't want to give all the stuff that they need. It's Trez, TRESMOND, then LAW, no spaces, @gmail.com, or call his office at 716-202-4301. 716-202-4301. Then there's a Senator Kathleen Martial+Laws petition online. You can go to no spaces, lowercase, www.nysenate.gov/webform, that's web/second-amendment-standing-new-york.
Hey, Dave.
Yes?
Dave, you're in the chat room. You want to send me a message with that link in it? And I'll post it?
Because no one's really going to remember this. You've got a, so you got an attorney?
All right.
You've got an attorney going...
Yeah, you got the attorney, and you got the attorney, and then you got a Senator Kathleen Martial+Laws.
Okay.
A petition.
All right, so what we need to do...
Yeah,
we need to gather up as many New Yorkers as possible to sign on to these petitions or these action suits. All right, this is good news. This is good news.
Yeah, Dave, go ahead and throw the link in chat there and in the regular chat, and I'll pick it up, and everybody else.
For those listening,
If I can't do it tonight, can I do it tomorrow, Joe? If I can't do it, if I don't have enough time tonight.
Yeah, certainly.
Or send it to me. Yeah, send it to me, put it in chat, whatever you want to do, just as long as we get the information.
Can I send it to you directly?
Yeah, I'll give you my email.
Actually, if you go to HomelandSecurityUS.com, both of our emails are on the left-hand side of the page.
Okay.
Thank you for this. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I say this other thing? Right?
Yeah.
Just both of you. Notice that there isn't any Muslim terrorist shootings. Not like there was under Bush and in the beginning of Obama's first term. There was the Fort Dix plot, the 4 cops shot dead while eating breakfast by a black convert to Islam while in prison, the Times Square plot, the JFK plot on the underground gas lines, the Fort Hood massacre, the mall shooting in Salt Lake City, I believe, off-duty cops shot him, and others that I probably can't even remember, driving people over in San Francisco and stuff like that. Now, there's nothing, right? Nothing. But now nothing except these infidel psychos on these drugs. And I also think being used by the bad guys in our government to come after our guns like the Fast and Furious plot that went bad for Obama. Guess they see victory that their man Hussein Obama is really destroying this country and now trying to disarm America. Oh, Obama, Bin Laden is proud of you. And all the stupid infidels following this devil. And a lot of crack. Oh, yeah, that girl that said about the crackers on that thing? Yeah, a lot of crackers died for your freedom, girl, in World War II, boy. They really did. And, anything on Farrakhan's army with the black shotguns? Because those black shotguns really scared me. I seen them out there. Remember that picture where there was about maybe 6 of them, and they had these shotguns, the short, maybe 18, 20-inch black shotguns, and they had them like straight up, going into the air. You remember that photo? I don't know if you saw that one. Well, I did. And
okay.
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, and anything about that. And I wonder if Obama's going to clean up the act over there in Africa. I hope that's not what he's trying to do. I hope I didn't get him to send the troops over there, you know, and he's going to, I'm going to satisfy Dave, and I'm going to go down to Africa and get rid of all the Muslims. Well, he's not going to do that, I know. He's probably going to kill all the Christians down in Africa. He'll let the Muslims alone.
Exactly,
right?
Dave.
That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing now. Is they're burning Christian churches, burning Christians inside the churches in Africa, and of course that's apparently okay.
Yeah, Dave, we're going to roll. We got to go to another call. Thank you for your call.
God bless you both.
God bless you both.
Thanks, Dave.
And before we get to another call, folks, let me just say this. I just got a message from Steve Quayle. It's going to be a Sunday night special, not Saturday night special. Sunday night. This Sunday night is going to be Greg Evenson and Steve Quayle. There was the issue over the Super Bowl, but if people are more interested in the Super Bowl, then they don't need to be listening to our program. That's Sunday night. Go ahead, Joe.
All right, we're going to move on to the phone line. Area code 203. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hello?
Yeah, you're up.
All right, awesome. Hey, first off, I want to thank you guys. I don't know how I could follow past Mel. I mean, Mel said a lot. I think that was one of the best calls I heard in a while. And he was right on the money as far as you guys. And Joe, I know I called before when your dad was sick, and I also was praying for him. And prayers definitely work.
Boy, they certainly do, because, wow. Let me tell you, callers and listeners, let me say this. I believe in the power of prayer, and especially after this last little soiree with whatever it was, man. It's God. You know, God bless. Thank you, everyone. I want to thank everyone. But go ahead, caller. I want to take your time.
Yeah, I got actually 2 employees here that got the flu, and it kicked their butt for at least a week, and each. And it's definitely terrible. There's something bad going on around, and everybody's telling us to get flu shots, but I don't think that's the way to go.
No.
But a couple things that, kind of going on what Mel said and one of your other callers said, like a good combined effort as far as that goes. And also what you said earlier, Doug, I think the time is now, and I don't think it's going to be one of those things where, you hear somebody say, yeah, I'm going to quit, or yeah, I'm going to quit smoking cigarettes, or I'm going to go do this. I think we need to set a date. And we don't have to march to Washington, although that would be nice. But even if we said, hey, let's march on March 26th or something, and say, hey, everybody march to your capitals in protest. I mean, if we did that in every state, if we let this type of thing go viral and say, all right, hey, listen, everybody march to your capital, as far as, and not just like on a gun trip. I mean, obviously that's really important, but also on an abortion thing. It could be a Christian thing where everybody goes to all these churches and rallies everybody up in the churches. There probably are some dead churches out there. I don't know. The particular church that I go to is pretty alive. Everybody who leaves there gets something and they're fulfilled and everything. They feel great when they leave. But let's rally up the churches. Let's go into all these churches, have the pastors spread the word. Hey, let's all stick together and go do something and show that this Christian community is here. And like everybody else was saying, that we're not soft. All right, yeah, we don't want to hurt a fly, granted, but at the same time, that's not weakness. We're not going to be weak. I'm not saying that we need to go attack or do anything crazy, but we should march for something that's important to us. And if our country is under siege, like I keep hearing from everybody, between the government and Russians here and this group there, and you got all these. I seen black helicopters myself the day after the Sandy storm. I went down to go help. Me and my family, we drove 30 miles from my house just to go help, and everybody was like, no, we're all set. But then, you see the military helicopters, and I know what they look like because I lived in Maryland for 4 years, right next to BWI Airport, and so that they definitely are out there. But I think we need to put a date on it and say, hey, listen, let's do this. Let's stand up for this. I mean, hey, bring signs, bring whatever. I mean, if it's one of those things where, you know, like the caller said, a 5 million man march, that sounds great. And you know what? If they do decide to nuke us or drone us or whatever, we'll be martyrs. I mean, that's you know, a great thing, but just think of the whole entire world seeing that, how they would react to that. I don't think people would react too kindly. I mean, there's great people in every single country. You know, it's like they try to brainwash, like you said, oh yeah, China thinks this way, Russia thinks this way. There's great people in those countries, and if they see us, you know, stand up for something we believe in and we're ready to die for that, and something crazy did happen like that, these countries would react, just like we reacted to that guy who stood in front of the tank and was ready to get ran over. I mean, they see stuff like that. I mean, we need to get these idiots out of there. I mean, if they're in the government, you know, if they're in the Senate, if they're over there and they're not doing their job, get them out of there. You know, it's like I was saying about the pastor. If the pastor is leading the church in a different direction that's not biblical, and hey, have a talk with him, you know, heart to heart. And if that's not, you know, something that the church is doing to their pastor, then shame on them. But I don't know. That's all I really had to say. I don't want to take up a long time. But
appreciate that. Appreciate the call, sir. Very good. Yeah. You know, it would be nice, Joe, if we can get 5 million, 1 million, you know, 2 million, whatever. It would be very good. I'm just so afraid that we're not going to have that opportunity.
No, I agree. Thanks for the call. We're going to try and hit one more call before the end of the show. Thanks,
All right.
All right. We are going to go to one more call. Let's see.
Switchboard giving you trouble there?
No, I'm trying to find a specific caller.
Okay.
All right, we're just going to go to area code 304. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
304. Hello.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here, guys.
All right. You're up.
I just wanted, I wanted to know if you guys had saw that, I think his name is Jonathan Kahn.
Yes.
The writer of The Harbinger.
Yes.
Did you see his, there was a video that came out, and you can get it off the Tree of Liberty. That's where I got it. But it's the prayer, that's the inaugural prayer breakfast.
Well, yes.
That is powerful.
It certainly is. And he, yep, both Joe and I did, and he invokes, or he talks about the harbingers that he talked about in this book, and very powerful indeed. And I would urge everyone to watch that.
Yeah, I just wanted people to know that was out there, and that is it's powerful. It was like my brother and I were sitting there listening to it. It's like having Isaiah or Jeremiah, you know, talking to not just this nation but the whole world.
Yes.
It was powerful.
Yes, and for those who don't know, Rabbi Jonathan Kahn wrote the book The Harbinger, and he talked at the Marriott Hotel on the morning of the inauguration at the prayer breakfast there, and he spoke for I think the video is maybe 29 or 34 minutes or something like that. It's a very good investment of your time to listen to what he's got to say. He talks about the abandonment by America of God, and the judgment that is befalling us, and the veil of protection that's been removed from America because of our abandonment of God and what's right. And yeah, so it's very powerful. You're exactly correct.
Well, I just wanted people to know that, and I just have been enjoying you guys, and you just keep up the good work, and thank you guys tonight.
Well, God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
God bless you.
You know, Brian, Joe, we're humbled. I mean, by people who listen to us all over basically we're getting calls and emails from all over the world, and man, I'll tell you what, I just want to thank everyone for listening, and we just hope that we can provide the information that's needed, you know, at the time it's needed, and be an asset to everyone, you know, listening.
And continuing to grow as our audience does. Donna and caller from Tennessee, you guys will be first in line tomorrow when we take calls before Mr. Salas comes on.
And let me just reinforce what I said earlier. The program that we kept referencing for Saturday is now Sunday. Sunday with Greg Evenson and Steve Quayle. I know it's Super Bowl Sunday, but it's going to be from 9 to midnight Sunday. Greg Evenson and Steve Quayle, and it's going to be you can mute the Super Bowl and listen to us too at the same time if you so desire. But and that too will also provide us an opportunity if anything does happen. We've been getting some interesting reports about the potential things at the Super Bowl. Of course, we've been getting those reports for the last 10 years. So
yeah,
who knows?
Yeah, nothing's for sure except one thing, and we know what that is. That's the word of the Lord, and that's what we need to cling to in these times of uncertainty. Not be bothered by the chaos. Not be bothered by not worry about the things happening in the world.
90 seconds.
There should be no worry
that they would happen, and we were told not to worry. Even though it says that men's hearts will fail them for fear for the things that are coming upon this earth, that if we have our faith in Him and walk in obedience, that we have no reason to worry.
And you know what, folks, the people listening to this program, if you're alone and if you're infirmed, if you're out there alone, you're not alone. You've got us. We're there with you, and I'll tell you what.
60 seconds.
Anything. I mean, we look at us as being one big extended family, and to me, each and every one of our listeners is important to me, and Joe too. And we talk about you as a listening audience all the time, and we just value our fellowship together. And we learn together, don't we? I mean, it's all the I believe we learned a lot over the last couple of months. Over the last year, we've learned a lot.
God willing, we'll have enough time to learn everything we need to.
That's right.
For what's coming. I want to thank each and every one of you for listening, the callers, whether listening live or archive. God bless each and every one of you. Stay safe. I know the weather's getting hectic around the country. Have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
10 seconds.